remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent, top spot I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. My moment. I'm a boss till I fall. I'ma answer the call. I'm a beast, I'm a dog. And my back against the wall. I accept every challenge. Had to battle for my balance. From a peasant to the palace. Treat the trophy like a chalice. Stayed on my grind. Great things take time. Now how I shine. You might go blind. Come along for the ride. Cause I'm headed to the top with it. Going is my only option. They can never ever stop this. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only can't clone me. I remember feeling lonely. I remember when they told me I would never get the trophy. Show me my opponent. Top spot, I want it. My grind, I'm on it. Can't stop, keep going. One and only can't clone me. I remember feeling hungry. Now I'm coming for the trophy. Cause this is my moment. My moment. So many days, so many nights. I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength that I keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found my light and now I shine. So many days, so many nights. I had to fall, I had to fight, I had to find the strength that I keep hope alive. Through the dark, I found the light and now it's mine. Cause this is my moment. My moment. Cause this is my moment.
Sometimes you got to get back to your roots. Remember where it all started.
NASCAR Thunder 2000.
Our goal was simple. Make it authentic. The stories.
And there's a fight using lessons learned from his father.
The fans. The rivalries.
Got into the side of the truck.
That feeling of being part of it all. That's why we went to work on this game. We've heard you. It's been a long time since we've had a game that captures what the sport is all about. Well, time is now. This one's built for the fan, for anybody who wants to experience what it's really like. All right, let's go. From the sound to the speed to the venue.
Daytona International Speedway.
Back at Darlington Raceway.
All there's left to do is fire it up.
Today on Countdown to Green, the crew recaps the class split from Long Beach and VIR. We preview the championship scenarios. And we draw some wild cards presented by Michelin. All of that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
It's been an electric 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. It's time to wrap it up at the World Center of Racing. Welcome to Countdown to Green, presented by Michelin. Our Junior Kengi Party on hand here on the IMSA YouTube channel, live on the iRacing Esports Network. And once more joined alongside by Reese Gardner and by Joey Atterbury. And Reese, where better to close the season out in the virtual world, where the real world will pick things up in January in full steam. The Daytona International Speedway, a track these drivers have done thousands of laps around.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most used circuits on iRacing, hosting the virtual Daytona 24 every year, and many league and hosted races besides. It's an incredible circuit, one with plenty of history, and one where the slipstream is going to be incredibly important, not to mention the updated curbs at the bus stop chicane.
Track limits has been a hot button topic, but Joey, let's talk about one unique element today, which is going to be racing through the sunrise, and therefore for drivers transitioning from night into day.
It's a pretty cool facet that we've got here, especially with the real-world endurance stuff. Reese mentioned the 24 hours Daytona, seeing both the sunrise and the sunset. Well, you're right, starting here in the nighttime and then driving into the day. We had some mixed weather earlier in the season. Well, a little bit of a time zone change, if you will.
Fortunately, no rain, given what we saw last time out. And speaking of, let's dive into some of the highlights. Our first ever split event in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. The GTDs would take to the Virginia International Raceway, and with a sprinkle of moisture to open up the race. But given the forecast that saw for heavy rain, these drivers were more than a match for the conditions, and they tiptoed their way up through where the oak tree used to be. Trouble down through the roller coaster for our defending champions, and also for championship contenders, Coanda Esports. Reese, VIR seeing a big shakeup in the points.
Yeah, it ultimately resulted in the 118 and 181 swapping places at the top of the standings, and there were plenty of issues besides. Lots of contact coming into roller coaster as drivers tried to fight over their various positions. Plenty of off-track excursions to speak of, but plenty of great passes as well. The Aston Martin of Drago pulling that one off, and the sister car also going side by side through a very twisty section of a circuit where it's difficult to pass on. These two cars were the main protagonists, and the Coanda Corvette there pulling off our move of the race, a brilliant three-wide maneuver. It ultimately was the Veloce Thrustmaster machine of Daniel Antunes and Cody Deeth that took the win there ahead of Apex Racing Team's Mustang. But these are the championship standings as they are at the moment. Coanda Esports still running 1 and 2, only 8 points separating the 118 and the 181, only 30 points back for the Mahler Racing Team BMW. They are worth watching and are going to be in contention for sure. Plenty of scenarios that will have to take place for our eventual champions. It's going to be winner takes all between the 118 and 181 Coanders and also the 110 Mahler BMW. As I mentioned, 8 points between those Corvettes there, and the BMW another 30 points behind. Teams that need some help, the 199 Apex Racing Team and the 168 Drago Racing Machine. That 199 Apex Mustang managed to finish second at VIR, battling all race along with that Veloce car, but unfortunately falling by the wayside on the dying minutes after a slowdown. And of course, there's plenty of other teams to consider as well. We have an incredible amount of teams that are mathematically in contention for this championship. All listed down there on the bottom of your screen. They need a perfect race, pole position and win, with everyone else falling by the wayside and getting basically no points at all. So it's the first three cars I was speaking out before that we need to think about, Arjuna.
Yeah, one thing to remember though, with the IMSA points format, if teams start the race and don't get disqualified, they secure points no matter what. And so if our top contenders don't have that much trouble, there will reach a point where we find ourselves with not much to talk about except those up front. One thing to talk about is our Michelin wildcard. Let's quickly talk though about the class itself and the range of manufacturers that we are going to see. Aston Martin, one of the newest additions to the iRacing catalogue of GT3 cars, joining the ranks of BMW, Chevrolet, Ferrari, Ford, Lamborghini, Mercedes, and Porsche. Let's not forget a whole handful of these manufacturers. We'll see new cars launched in 2026, but all variations of some of their cars already in sim. Been great to see some of the liveries, Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team battling with the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team. That's been a fight between F1 megastars. But speaking of, we've got a megastar from the world of football or soccer, depending on which side of the continent you're on, joining us. It's Thibaut Courtois Esports, goalkeeper for Real Madrid and for the Belgian national team. He's become a fast fan of racing, quite literally. Has a Formula 4 and Formula 3 team competing in Spain, and their esports outfit represented by David Sobrero, Abel Torres in the Michelin wildcard entry. It should be a treat to see them campaign in their Lamborghini Huracan screaming V10 engine. Let's talk though about GTP, because sports cars in numbers, well, prototypes didn't have to fight their way through them on the streets of Long Beach. And while it started dry, a little bit of check up through the fountain as Channel 199 ran into the back of the CrowdStrike Acura. As we unwound through the final corner on the opening lap, the rain began to sprinkle, and Joey, what was to follow was one of the most enthralling 75 minutes of racing that I have ever seen. Drivers trying to hold on, stay on track, but the elements of strategy and drive time proving pivotal as well.
It was an absolute chaos, slippery racetrack. Turn number 1 down here was a huge action zone. Then also at the other end of the back straightaway, saw lots of cars getting into the tire wall, but it was tricky, slippery conditions throughout. And you mentioned the drive time also playing a factor. Team Redline getting caught out late in the race with that strategy call. Had to fall back quite a bit. And of course, it was that Porsche Coanda team claiming the victory at the slippery streets of Long Beach. A heavy head-on impact, had several large accidents, but there is your winner. the number 91 car. Pretty much been a perfect season outside of our initial opening round. And when we talk about the points championship, here we are, BMW M Team Redline tied with the other Team Redline car up front. You see Porsche Coanda only 75 points back. A little bit of a drop-off back there to BMW MBS Plus competition, but the GTPs have a lot to fight for out here, Arjuna.
Yeah, that's for sure. BS Plus competition won this race last year, so 172 points back. They might be on the outside, but still do have a chance. And so, Joey, let's quickly talk championship scenarios. It's pretty simple. If BMW M Team Redline and Team Redline stay out of trouble, it's winner takes all between the two of them. Where it gets more interesting, in my opinion, is Porsche Coanda. 75 odd points back. If either of the Redline cars finish outside of the top 5, Coanda find themselves with a route to the title.
And you got to remember, they've really been the fastest GTP car throughout the season, so do not count out that number 91 and also that number 89. Just needs a little bit of help, as well as that Drago Racing number 69 car. But trust me, these aren't the only ones that are in the championship contention. There's others that are out there that need a little bit more of a perfect race and a Hail Mary for others to have some problems, and primarily that is the number 7 gridandgo.com esports machine. They are still mathematically in the championship.
But just, and I think after qualifying, it might be as simple as mathematically counting them out. Remember, you score points as long as you're not disqualified from the event, and so BMW M Team Redline, the sister car, in control of their destiny, perhaps. This, of course, is such a vital and sparkling GTP class that we have now, a mix of V6 and V8 engines that all put out about 670 horsepower, including then a hybrid unit to recover some energy, spool it out as well. 4 of the manufacturers represented here on iRacing: the Acura ARX, the BMW M Hybrid V8, the Cadillac V-Series R, and the Porsche 963, all of which have shown us plenty of speed through the season, built on relatively standard chassis and then made to look like the manufacturer's road cars that they represent. And what a wild card we have representing the factory Porsche Motorsport number 6 in those Porsche Penske colors. It's newly announced Porsche Juniors for 2026. They were tested on the sim and they'll be challenged here today. It's Marcus Amond and Flint Schuring that join us. I had the privilege of commentating on Marcus in a handful of Porsche Carrera Cup Asia races last year. He won 2 of the 3 races, beating our eventual season champion by a healthy margin, which will stand him in very strong suit. And we'll see how they can run in what should be a very fascinating Michelin wildcard. Reese, what a fascinating track, though. I love the Daytona International Speedway. High speed, high thrills.
Yes, and a mere stone's throw away from the birthplace of NASCAR at Daytona Beach. 12 turns, all of them incredibly important. This is a track of basically 2 halves. You've got the infield and you've got the oval. You need to trim out the downforce for maximum speed down those straights, but the cars will be very skaty in the infield, especially on cold tires at the start of a stint. The 4th variation of this layout. There's been a few changes over the years, the addition of the Le Mans chicane at the back straight and various other alterations to the infield besides Arjuna. It's a great track. Looking forward to it playing host.
And who better to take us around than Robbie Foley, Turner Motorsports, featured in the F1 movie. Let's ride around in our AMD pole lap.
Hey everyone, my name is Robbie Foley. I'm a BMW M Motorsport Works driver and driver the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M4 GT3 Evo in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. I'm back here again to take you guys on a lap of the famous Daytona International Speedway, so yeah, come with me. Headed into turn 1, we're right up against the wall here, trying to maximize our late braking hard and late. A couple different lines here in turn 1. I'm kind of taking a hybrid line. Tricky on exit here with traction, putting the power down. Headed into the famous International Horseshoe turn 3. Braking as late as we can. Bit of a V-style corner here where we try to maximize braking, rotate the car in the center, and then get a good exit. Now headed down to turn 4, which is a flat out kink here. And our GT3 car is just about flat out, or always flat out unless in traffic. Into turn 5, looking for a late apex. A little bit tricky through the bumps on braking, and then equally tricky on exit with the bump on the curb, trying to put the power down. Headed into turn 6. Very tricky corner here. Again, bumpy in the brake zone, and probably the most important corner on the track as you try to get a good exit. Getting right up against the wall, the rear is always challenging you with traction. Now here we are in the famous banking, NASCAR turns 1 and 2. And the GT cars were always on the yellow line here, staying low. Prototypes passing us on the right. Trying to minimize your distance now, headed to the bus stop. The famous bus stop here, new curbing and iRacing to mimic what we have in real life. Braking just after the light and just before the 1. Down to 3rd gear. Trying to carry in a lot of speed, rotate the car in the center, and try to get a good exit and not destroy the floor like I just did over the last curve there. Again, staying nice and low here, right up against the yellow line. Minimizing our distance, watching our mirrors and rear view camera for prototype traffic. And yeah, this part seems quite simple as you just flat out, but in the race it gets very hectic with traffic. And yeah, that's a lap with me around Daytona. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
A big thank you to Robbie for his time in walking us through those AMD hot laps through the season. Missed him in round 3, but Bruno Spengler and Jaden Conright debutizing very adequately. Reese, I mean, what a championship fight, and I think we talked about the scenarios. It's on a precipice, and Daytona, always with the traffic management and those high speeds we've talked about, brings some excitement.
Absolutely they do. I'm looking forward to the race, honestly. We've got our GTP Championship leaders tied coming into this round, and plenty of cars in contention in GTD. They will need to master the banking, they'll need to master the slipstream, and take caution where needed. We have 2 hours and 40 minutes ahead of us.
I think that I'm really looking forward to kind of the multi-class traffic. We had a little bit of a break last week, right, with the split races at VIR and then also at Long Beach. Daytona is the king of multi-class. I can't wait to see it. Plus, what we just heard out of Robbie, alternate lines into turn number 1. It's going to be a busy place.
Busy track, that is for sure. Countdown to Green presented by Michelin is in the books. All that remains is the Michelin 240 to close out the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more action to come here on IMSA TV on the iRacing Esports Network.
You woke up in the morning with initiative to move, so I'll make it harder. Don't hold back. Galvanize.
Trajectory and balance look good. You're confirmed to go for orbit.
Every day, Michelin innovates to move the world forward on the road and far beyond. Michelin, motion for life.
Trumpets blowing in the distance. Been broken, couldn't keep me down. I'm back better than ever now. These are the moments that define us. Do we run or do we rise up? We're taking everything we're feeling, blowing through the ceiling. This is the story that
Under the night lights, it's time to bring the action in the final round of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. This is the Michelin 240. Just a handful of teams are left in mathematical contention, and so as we rise our way in through that sunrise, there is so much up for grabs. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by Reese Gardner, by Joey Atterbury here on the IMSA TV and iRacing Esports Network channels. And Reese, countdown to green, we talked about championship scenarios. Let's start with GTP. 3 teams realistically in contention. You think Redline versus Porsche Coanda. What a battle we've seen this season.
We certainly have, and if it weren't for the result out of round 1, we probably would see the Porsche Coanda 963 in super hard contention for the championship, but that unfortunate result means that they are going to need a few things to go their way if they want to take it here.
Joey, GTD, Coanda have been steady in their pair of Corvettes, although trouble for one of them at VIR saw the points lead swap around, but very much they have everything to play for. It's the Mahler BMW putting the pressure on them.
It's so hard to execute an absolutely perfect season, but Coanda Esports is pretty much doing exactly that. They are in the prime contention, the prime position to claim that championship, but you're right, do not count out that Mahler BMW. They have been fast all season long.
And what a season we have seen with the split round a couple of weeks ago. Long Beach, VIR, as we sent the classes to either side of the U.S. coast. Sebring and Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, of course, building up to this, our traditional season showdown at the World Center of Racing, Reese.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic place to conclude this championship after we visited the gamut of sports car racing circuits in America. This is how things are looking in the balance of performance in both of our classes. We have quite a bit of extra weight for most of our GTD cars, and the BMW and Porsche in GTP having a bit of extra weight added as well. Most cars having their power reduced ever so slightly. It should result in a highly competitive race. Let's see who gets the best of it.
And obviously this fuel capacity numbers particularly important here, Joey, given that fuel mileage at Daytona, such a high throttle usage track, is going to be important. Let's quickly touch though on the AMD Pole Award, the final time this season that we will talk about it. Well, there's been a bit of drama from the qualifying session, and the provisional pole sitter has found their lap struck from the record, and so for the first time in IMSA Esports history, it's fiercely forward and the number 11 that will lead us to green. In the GTD class, well, Coanda Esports, the 181, have put themselves in prime position, Joey, although going back to that fuel mileage, they'll be towing the field around on the run down into turn number 1.
But the best place to start the race is in front of everybody else. That's exactly what Coanda Esports and the number 181 Corvette are going to be doing out here. The best position to try to grab the championship.
Don't forget, there is a great opportunity for you to give the gift of sim racing. If you've got a friend, a family member who maybe wants to be a part of this IMSA Esports Global Championship in 2026, well, iRacing.com/holiday-sale, 50% off all new memberships through January the 6th if you need a slightly late Christmas present as well. Let's dive into the AMD starting grid, where it's going to be Alexei Noguet that technically leads us to green after Jere Lehtinen flags for a violation in qualifying. Through the rest of the field, Porsche Coanda, Eduardo Leo for Team Redline, great for them in their championship hopes, while Marcus Amon, the Flying Finn representing Porsche Motorsports, is up there in contention with Marcus Hamilton in the CrowdStrike Acura as well. Down to 7th provisionally to find Jordan Johnson in the Solprec Precision Racing number 60 that led laps in the first hour of the season. The Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast car piloted by Jaden Munoz, our outgoing defending champions. Watchers Chris Lollam and BMW M Team Redline have some work to do. Loic Rabier for CrowdStrike Racing will be just inside of the top 10, as will the Grid and Go machine for Jesse Tekela, while Robin Schwank for the second of the Solpec machines. The Virtual Mindset number 62 is provisionally 12th on the board. Culture Team and Ivan Machado Perez and Aaron Vasquez split the duties alongside of Jake Denahan for Grid and Go second Cadillac. Maniti in the Cadillac, the 15th place qualifier, with Owen Carroll, Casey Kerwin splitting responsibilities for Channel 199 Sim Racing. Defending race winners Dominic Hoffman and BMW M Team BS Plus Competition have a lot of work to do, as do Alexander Spets and Ate Kauppinen for Drago Racing. Apex Racing Team, Maniti Racing and Sheza Esports, the rest of the 21-car GTP grid, that gets ready to do battle in the Michelin 240. A stacked field of 33 GTD machines as well, and so it's Coanda and their Corvettes in championship contention, but don't count out Daniel Lafuente, who's out for some revenge after feeling slightly wrong from a penalty on the start at VIR last time out. Tristan Iglesias behind his teammate Alejandro Sanchez. They've got to try and push the pace as they fight for the title. Esports Lamborghini is then on the outside of row 2 with Williams Sim Racing just inside of the third row. Plenty of strong contenders inside of the top 10. Marla just have a lot of work to do, though, to pick their way past Veloce, Thrustmaster, Apex Racing, their Ford Mustang as well. Fiercely Forward and Drago Racing 11th and 12th positions. 13th, you'll find Fiercely Forward's Porsche. They've got Isaac Price and Visceral Esports in their Lamborghini for company. Sheza Additus Racing by WSR. Virtus Pro and Sheza Esports, the front 9 rows, top 20 starting positions as we continue to cycle our way down. For Damon Woods in the door 4 and Matteo Victorino in the Team PGZ BMW. WSR, Team Redline, Grid and Go, EMM. Plenty more cars to work our way through, but Reese, I'm going to breathe and give you a chance to talk about some of the things that our drivers will be thinking as we get ready to get racing for the final time this season.
Yep, not too long until the green flag, and plenty of keys to the race that we'll have to be thinking about as we go through the last few rows of our incredibly stacked GTD grid. End-of-line penalty, by the way, for the Williams Gaming Club car that would have started on pole position here. That track limits violation in qualifying, putting them all the way down there, but it looks like the GTPs are going to be getting ready for their start, and it's going to be Alex Noguet who leads us on the way down to turn 1, and the Porsche Coanda machine now starting on the front row.
Well, we'll talk about our Michelin keys to the race once we jump past the green flag into the start zone. These drivers will filter, and for the first time, it's Fiercely Forward that get us underway, and championship battle will roll off the banking and down into turn 1. Mitchell de Jong challenged by Eduardo Leo. Watch behind for Marcus Amod, who's got Jordan Johnson shuffling to the right-hand side. Now, still with cold tires potentially as they single file up towards the International Horseshoe. Crucially, Eduardo Leo picks the pocket of Mitchell de Jong as look at the aggression from Chris Lullen further behind. He recognizes the importance of finding his moves early in proceedings. Alejandro Sanchez, not for the first time this season, gets us underway. His teammate Tristan Iglesias already alongside of Daniel Lafuente and that Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports machine, who might also be challenged by Beckham Desir for Williams Sim Racing Placey. A relatively tidy start. A couple of GTP cars drop off the track as now the GTD cars tangle up through turn 1. But Reese, our leaders, scramble through safely.
They certainly do, and well, it's going to be difficult to get your eye in for the race here on the opening lap. Spin in the middle of the GTD field. Who's that who's falling down the order? Unfortunately, it looked like one of the Drago Aston Martins involved in that, so drama's already for the GTDs. GTP, meanwhile, making their way through the chicane on the back stretch. The curbs are brutal through there. They're effectively walls. Hopefully, you get the pace out, because you're going to lose the slipstream otherwise.
Lap 1 about to be complete. Traffic with the split start probably going to start to be a factor inside of the opening 3 laps. Look at Mitchell de Jong and the speed that he's got as they break the timing line. About 325 kilometers an hour, but it will be a bold pass around the outside. Keep your tires within the white line, and the young Italian holds off for the time being. Eduardo Leo continuing to frustrate, but Joey, crucially, that gap is starting to grow in front, and he's looking increasingly in the rearview mirror, and the queue of Porsche starting to queue up.
Look at that draft line. It's exactly what you don't want to see in the rearview mirror, especially when you hit the high banks here at Daytona. And like you said, Fiercely Forward, Teal out front, trying to stretch their legs a little bit. The slipstream here in the sim, it reaches about 1 second, but I feel like you got to be, call it within 0.3 of a second, really, in order to gain the momentum down these long straightaways and put yourself in a position to actually make a move into the brake zone. So right now, you see the GTPs go all the way down to that yellow line, the shortest distance around, while they don't have GT cars in the way.
Couple of drivers heading down to pit lane with damage. Drago Racing's 169, Visceral Esports 144. So Hugh Barter and Isaac Price, tough start for them. Just inside of the top 10, one of our championship players the Michelin Racing BMW, which has got plenty of work to do to claw up the gap to the pair of Coanders at the, well, front of the field now, and effectively able to work together. Now, they can't lock bumpers, they can't bump draft each other, Reese, but when you've got teammates able to help each other out, it's always more comfortable, especially if they're doing some fuel saving. No fuel saving at the front of the field. De Jong to the outside once again. Leo firm on the defense.
Yeah, turn one is incredibly easy to defend into. All you got to do is just stick to the left side of the track and you're usually good, but you need to make sure you don't run too deep, and it looks like De Jong is trying his best to maximize the braking capability of that Porsche as they make their way through the infield. It's flat out through this left-hand kink here for the GTPs, but a little bit of aero disturbance combined with cold tires is not a good recipe, especially in these opening stages. But it looks like they are just keeping the limits just within their margins here in the opening laps. Now it's time for the slipstream again. Passing is difficult into the chicane. Can De Jong pull it off?
Where if some of these teams have elected for unique setup compromises, that could also be a factor. You're trying to balance out needing some grip in the infield, albeit limited, versus maximizing your top end speed. No real grandstand at which you can now sit and watch the cars fly into this Le Mans chicane with those curves on either side, where you do have to be very, very mindful. Hit those curves slightly awkwardly. It can jettison the car, Joey, into the air and off to the right-hand side where there's a wall very eager to greet you.
Let me tell you, the bus stop chicane, the Le Mans chicane, whatever you want to call it nowadays, it was already tricky before they put in those new curbs. And yeah, when they put in that, call it speed bumps down there, especially at apex number 3 and apex number 4 of that bus stop section, it really kind of threw the drivers for a loop. There was a learning curve of how you got to drive it. You got to enter it a little bit differently than how you were able to really race the chicane before. But I think the biggest change is definitely on the exit, the final 2 apexes. We heard in that Robbie Foley lap around, you got to stay off of those curves and check out these GTP points right now. Redline still holds that with an 86-point lead over their teammates, the other Redline car, and then Porsche Coanda 93 points back. But folks, this is still early days. The first 5 minutes of this race, no strategy has yet to play out.
And we saw strategy really impact things at Long Beach. The early sprinkle of rain meant that Porsche Coanda timed their pit stop 1 lap later than Team Redline. And what that meant was they fulfilled the minimum drive time. Team Redline did not. Redline required to do an extra pit stop, and how that changed proceedings. The lights flashed, by the way, from the Apex Racing Ford Mustang. Johan Harth giving the universal sign to Raphael Renhofer that please continue at your pace. You're not holding me up at all currently, but you can see crucially a little bit of battling further down through the field. That's edge of the top 15 or so, but traffic hasn't quite interrupted this group yet, Reese. When it does, there will be a lot more separation up and down through the pack as big drama in terms of our championship, because BMW Team Redline have seen some drama in front of them. We've got 2 cars, Solpec Precision Racing and Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast, Reese, headed back to pit lane.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like there's been some issue somewhere along the line for those guys. We'll likely see that in a few moments, but that is huge for those 2 teams falling all the way to the back. In the GTD points, meanwhile, it looks like the Coanda Esports duo are still leading the way. The Marla BMW still 30 points behind as things stand coming into this round. So we'll see what they can do. You pointed out behind the scenes a little earlier on, Arjuna, after that GTD incident on the opening lap. Actually, it was Joey that pointed it out. The Marla BMW barely snuck through that incident. So the race is still alive for them, but we've still got a long way to go.
Yeah, and we've seen 3-4 wide on occasion here through traffic, and it's not always ended well, going back, I think, to our first season where we had a combination of GTD cars and touring car machines, as they were known back then. Are we going to see any moves? You would expect not, given how coordinated the Coanda Corvettes were through the race at the Sebring International Raceway, where Joey, they squabbled a little bit at the front, but it wasn't until the last lap when they really tried to settle the fight at the front of the field. And I went back and I watched that replay a little bit, and if the lead car had gotten a slightly better exit out onto the Almond Straight, I really do think we could have seen a better fight. Them getting a bad exit actually checked the teammate up behind.
Well, and just look at what we've got here. I was watching the cars down into the tri-oval section. I was expecting Tristan to maybe do a little bit more fuel save, given that it's his teammate out in front. So if you're not trying to threaten the pass, it's obviously best to fuel save. It puts you in a better position when that pit stop comes. But the problem, he can't. Look in the rearview mirror. You got that Williams Sim Racing plate seat car, that Lamborghini right in the rearview mirror, and it is a train all the way back to about 8th or 9th place. So I just think that these Coanda Esports Corvettes are in a position to lead the field, but they can't fuel save. They have to go all out right now.
A couple of things just to note in terms of cars sitting in pit lane. I mentioned Drago and Visceral. Well, Drago have headed back out there. Visceral have not. This was what I was mentioning with GTPs. And, well, BMW M Team Redline just in front of them. Solpec Precision Racing, Williams Sim Racing, Chill Blast. They lock wheels. They slide each other up into the wall, and a hard bit of contact. That's 2 Porsche 963s, Reese, surely done for the season.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Of course, no fast repairs in this championship, so it's not just a matter of ticking a box and getting back out there. They will need to hopefully, just hope to high heaven, really, that the damage is repairable, but looking unlikely with how intense that contact was. When you make contact at such high speeds in those GTP cars, they're pretty fragile as well. So you got to hope that the angle of the crash is just right, and you don't have to worry about spending the rest of the race in pit lane.
Not even 10 minutes complete. We are into the first cycle of traffic, and it's causing a couple of gaps to open up through the GTP field. About a second apiece between each of the front 6 right now. As you can see, the sight looks like a busy time. Headed through the kink. Oh, GT cars always want to track out, but a prototype goes to the outside. That's Chris Lullum, remember? Championship contender, tied coming into the night, but given the relatively poor effort in qualifying, there are qualifying points paid out as well. That very much shifts the way that the championship has shaken up, and sister car has got a slight advantage as they chop and change and dice their way through. And Joey, if you're a GTD, you stick on that yellow line, you force the prototypes to go around you.
Correct. The shortest distance, keep the GT cars all the way down low, but these prototype drivers are proving to be extremely aggressive. They want the inside line going down here into that Le Mans chicane, so that way they can carve through Apex 2, 3, and 4 and really nail the gas to get the exit out onto this long tri-oval straightaway here. Watching this fight for what is 4th place. Chris Lullum chasing down that Porsche Motorsport number 6 car, that wild card entry, and you see both GTPs move to the bottom side of the racetrack, try to pull a little bit more draft on those GT cars directly in front of him. Deep move on the brakes from Lullum into turn number 1, gets the car side by side, clear at Apex, give him 4th place.
And I think he recognized he could not afford to wait. Marcus Amond, who, let's be clear, flying Finn in the real world, but having to now adjust to the sim world where the margins and the level is so tight. But as part of the Porsche Junior selection process in 2025, Porsche sent their crop of young talent to the Porsche Esports Center, and they got put through their paces. And both Flint Schuring, who's paired up with Marcus Amond, and Marcus show great potential, and that's why they have been put in this position. And I tell you what, 5th for the time being. They qualified well, they started this race decently, but give credit to BMW M Team Redline after maybe conservatively in qualifying, trying to avoid any risk with track limits. Well, silly lolly, nothing silly about this opening stint, and only 5 seconds off of the race lead. Problem is, Reese, the race leader is checked out now, 2.5 seconds clear, fiercely forward, fiercely flying right now.
Yeah, Alex is putting in some fantastic laps at the moment, and it's really crucial, that now 2.6 second gap. Usually around a track like this, when you're at your highest speeds, the draft will start kicking in when you're about 1.5 seconds back from the car ahead, and it really intensifies when you get within a second of the car in front. So Eduardo Leo is in a bit of a bind at the moment. Does he push, or does he try to focus on his own race? Meanwhile, while the Jeze Esports car number 90 contact with the 99, the Apex Racing Team car with Maxence Godino at the wheel. Drive-through penalty for them. Hopefully they nailed pit entry. Very difficult to nail here.
A bit easier at least than in a stock car where no ABS, no traction control, no anything. So yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, Reese. It's just like I always marvel at watching the Daytona 500 and how skillfully they enter pit lane and sometimes how clumsily they do so as well. One unique rule as part of this IMSA Esports Global Championship with the live race control is that teams have been given specific track limits at various points in the track. And we're 15 minutes into this race, and Joey, someone has already gone off track 4 times and apparently picked up a drive-through penalty.
I think that's our wildcard entry, that TC Esports Lamborghini machine out there. So I think getting used to the rule set out here with this IMSA Global Championship. I know that, Arjuna, you really keep a tight ship with it all, and I think that's the reason why the competition is always so good. However, if you're a newbie to the competition out here, you do have a little bit of a learning curve. You got to learn everything as you're getting up to speed.
Yes, and for the opening stint of this race, David Sobrero's taken the wheel. He is a very quick driver. We've seen him as part of the Williams Sim Racing Academy in the past, but now representing Thibaut Courtois Esports, there is Marcus Amond. It's one of the few times, Reese, for a real-world driver, we get a chance to see what they look like behind the helmet, all the facial expressions that they make as they go through the corner, the tongue sticking out and all of that. I tell you what, Marcus has settled right into the rhythm right now, though, and yes, dropping back slightly from Chris Lullen, but again, I'm very impressed at how he is stacking up against this top level of sim racing competition.
Yeah, there's a huge pedigree in this GTP field, and it's really impressive to see the form that he's displaying at the moment. He's under a lot of pressure, though, from Jake Dennehan just behind him in the Grid and Go Cadillac. We'll have Sean Campbell taking over that car soon. One of the things that I always enjoy when watching those driver cams, it's something that I'm obsessed with, is the way a driver's vision changes as they go around the circuit. You know, you're looking ahead to the next apex, the next braking zone, the next track out point, just watching his eyes dart around as he focuses on the information available to him is incredible. This race for 9th, and GTD meanwhile is really starting to heat up. Nicolas Rubiat making his way through. He's chased by Ryan Barneveld, who's at the wheel of the 3rd place in the championship, Marla Racing Team BMW. It looks like a bit of slipstream here for Barneveld. Not going to be able to get by into the chicane, though. It's a very tight passing opportunity there. You're better off going forward at turn 1, if you even go for it at all. This pack has a bit of a gap to the cars in front, so maybe Barneveld will focus on fuel saving for now.
And this is where BOP sometimes becomes difficult, because there's top speed and there's acceleration, how quickly it takes you to get to the top speed. Through that Le Mans chicane, tidy through the first 2 bits, but then the Calciatine, the rear end, the left rear lifted into the air as it pivots around that anti-cut curb. Unfortunately, Joey brings it back under control and not into the wall.
Lucky, right? Usually when you have a problem at that, call it Apex 3 and 4 over there, it kind of whiplashes the car over to drivers right into that hard concrete wall. So I think they got away with one there, just having a little bit of a half spin and then getting back going. But Ryan Barneveld in this number 110 BMW has been stuck behind this Drago racing machine, that Aston Martin you see. But to Reese's point, I actually think that this might be a little bit of a game changer for that BMW, allowing them to fuel save a little bit. You do see the gap that he was talking about. However, it is not huge amounts of time. It's not like they're 15 seconds back. They're only maybe 1.5, 2.5 seconds back from this lead pack. I don't think it's in threat in anytime soon.
You say that, but just as you did, the gap between Mag Performance and Fiercely Forward 7th and 8th positions has grown to about 2 seconds, which is officially, I think we can say, out of drafting range, and so some work to be done at this point. Nicolas Rubilar, some work to close as well. Great aerial shot, different lines on display. I think, by the way, keep an eye out for that Apex Racing Team machine. That's the 5th car in line, because Johan Hart, if he can save some fuel, find a way past Williams Sim Racing and Scuderia Ferrari, If the Mahler Racing Team BMW stuck down there in 10th position, Apex could find themselves third in points. It's 22 between them for the time being, so maybe looking for those 2 positions, like I said, and Scuderia Ferrari having to go defensive, covering the inside, and Harth not able to open up the steering and arc it around the outside. He's got plenty of aggression on his side, though, because one thing was announced earlier this week, Reese. Smash those 2 words together. But this is going to be the last race for Johan Harth, and indeed for many of the Apex Racing team. A swan song to a team that's been a staple of iRacing special events and top-level sim racing series for so many years.
Yeah, and there's a measure of sadness to that, honestly, because you know, I've really enjoyed seeing Apex Racing teams strut their stuff in these high-level competitions over the years, but you know what? I think that that team's loss is going to be a lot of other teams' gain as well. Those drivers will certainly be continuing on and going to the various other teams present in this series and in multiple high-level championships around the globe. So I guess it's a stepping stone to a new way forward as well.
Stepping stone into a new year, right? Because silly season, it exists in the virtual world too now. This is where championship business starts to get silly. All 3 contenders right on top of one another. In towards the kink, it's BMW M Team Redline slicing in front of Eduardo Leo, and Mitchell de Jong, the American from Temecula, California. He's left himself in a precarious situation, squeezed to the outside as they head out towards the run onto the banking. It gives him the inside once again, and decisively done. Oh, almost gets driven into and has to leave a door open. Great racing on display, but Joey, the drive from Chris Lullam has taken him up to second, and he is on a charge as the 2 behind him squeeze up to the chicane.
Gotta be careful here. Remember what we saw from those GTPs earlier, and you see the number 34, that's Leo on the inside. He's going to go ahead, outbrake Mitchell going into that Le Mans chicane, but just look at what that fighting has happened behind, right? It was just 2 GTPs, and then it became 3 GTPs, and now we've got 5 of these prototypes lined up nose to tail on the banking, all within slipstream range of each other, threatening for position.
I think we are seeing a bit of the gamesmanship between the teams going on, and this is where Marcus Amond, how does he join the fun? He's not technically part of Coanda Esports, neither is Flint Schuring. But they could influence the championship, to say the very least. 20 minutes complete here in the Michelin 240, and it's a full sequence setup initially into the international horseshoe. So this is where, or rather into turn 1, this is where they start to fight, and then into the international horseshoe race. This is where Chris Lullam joins the party.
Yeah, what an impressive move, and the cars actually box the Porsche in on the way through. Speed arrested on the inside with the car in front, while the other BMW manages to get it done, but there was more exchanges to be made through the rest of the infield. Unfortunately, Porsche Coanda stuck on the outside at the second of our horseshoes here. Wasn't quite enough to get the move done back, so they will keep going for now, and we'll see how long that battle continues. Race for the lead in GTD still hotly in pursuit. The Apex Mustang looks to be doing quite well at the moment, making their way past the Williams Sim Racing Playseat machine.
Up to third, Johan Hart's picked the pocket of both Daniel Lafuente and Beckham Desir. And if you look at championship points-wise, well, trying to do the mental math in my head, and I don't have my IMSA radio abacus in front of me like I sometimes would do on pit lane, but I think they will now be in front. Now, Eduardo Leo is really starting to cost Mitchell de Jong time here, and around the outside, continuing to frustrate the American. They're going to be thrust into some traffic once again. Marcus Amon, Jake Dennehan, Marcus Hamilton, and Jere Lehtinen. That's the rest of the GTP train that's beginning to dice its way to the inside of the Lamborghini for Thibaut Courtois Esports, and then a bit of clean air. And Joey, this is exactly what Chris Lullam was hoping for, but again, this is gamesmanship between the teams right now, and Porsche Coanda being held up slightly by Eduardo Leo.
You're right, the 91 maybe feeling a little bit frustrated inside that cockpit right now, and I think when it comes to the multi-class racing and when you have people stacked up in the rearview mirror, you just have to be very deliberate on where you're going to place the car, especially when it comes to the traffic. If you're going 2 wide or 3 wide through some of these corners, you better pick your line early and stick to it, because sometimes things can change very rapidly when you have so many cars around you.
So factor in the qualifying points, which are actually the same as race points, just divided by 10. BMW M Team Redline provisionally find themselves 14 points clear. I do say provisionally because our point system is going to be giving the pole sitter that was stripped of the pole the 35 qualifying points. So that's something that will be reflected in our final points tally, which keep an eye on IMSA social media, the iRacing social media channels as well. Final points tally to be published. Once more down to turn 1. I mean, last time by, Eduardo Leo was only 4/10 off his fastest lap, but it cost Marcus Amon slightly, bullied by Jake Dennehan, the Irishman. Door not quite left open then for Marcus Hamilton in the Acura to follow suit. But look how the traffic's going to compress them once again back towards the kink. This is where things start to tighten up, Reese.
Yeah, and speaking of tightening up, just look at how narrow the track is in this section. You can barely fit 2 cars side by side in between the kink and the second horseshoe. It's crazy seeing these cars go through at speed, especially in traffic. When I was looking through the field on lap 1, I noticed one of the cars going 3 wide with 2 GTDs, and it's amazing they got out of that. Unfortunately, it looks like the efforts of the Porsche Motorsport machine have been frustrated again, as Drago Racing have gotten themselves a drive-through penalty for contact with car 188. So that's going to be rather unfortunate for them.
That's a car that was involved in the incident on lap 1 and is already 2 laps down. So they've gone out and got tangled up with a car that was inside of the front 5, I think, at one point. So definitely not the ideal thing to be seeing as we close in on 30 minutes complete. We're not far away from the first pit stop sequence for the GTP machines. They'll pit somewhere around the 45 minute ballpark. Expect the GTDs to be closer to the hour. Still Mitchell de Jong trying. And all that experience in rallycross and X Games over the years, well, you can't put a Porsche 963, unfortunately, into the grass and expect any traction. And so narrow track, as Reese had mentioned before, and back into the thick of the traffic. A bit of a gap in front of them now. That's the margin between 7th and 8th positions. Will they be able to clear it, heading off in towards the second of the horseshoes and putting the power down as they squeeze around the outside? And it's actually easier, I think, to manage multi-class traffic through some of the slower corners, Joey, than it is when you get to the Le Mans chicane, where everyone's coming in full steam and those speed discrepancies between the classes are even higher.
For sure. I think that you got to judge those closing rates. And when the GTD cars are doing about 170 miles an hour top speed, maybe 175 miles an hour, these GTP machines are doing 200 plus by the time they get into the brake zone. So you really have to judge, all right, can I get it to the inside of a GT car? You got to remember, a slower top speed means about the same braking point. So it's not like the prototypes can just throw it into the brake zones and go crazy deep in comparison to a GT car. It really is up to that driver judging the closing rate. And I will say one of the more aggressive drivers we've got on the track right now, Jake Dennehan, in that Cadillac, that gridandgo.com esports machine. He's been making his way up through this prototype field, and now he finds himself on the back of that number 91.
And a quick look at our Michelin keys to the race. Did you bring your jackets and sunglasses? Well, don't forget just how cold Daytona can be in January. Yes, it's the sunshine state, and it does not mean that it's the warm shine state. Be on your best behavior. While our championship contenders have got to avoid any sort of race control intervention, as we've seen a couple of different penalties here and there. And as we've talked about, those speed differentials, the speed limits on pit lane in particular, the treachery of leaving the racing surface onto a bumpy apron and hitting that pit limiter with precise timing. Jake Dennehan, I tell you what, he's going to be able to put the power down nicely here, although left on the outside as he finally clears the Marla BMW. And then one way then the other, GTD cars wanting to get to the yellow line, but in the flurry of activity just proving to be a little bit more difficult than they were hoping to see. The Williams Gaming Club machine slots to the outside, and then everyone else will try and get to the inside. Watch those anti-cut curves on either side. And for the most part, the drivers, Reese, have been able to watch their lines. One slight moment for the Counter team inside of the opening 30 minutes of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's quite a brutal layout here, and plenty of pitfalls. It looks like a simple enough circuit from the air, but it's far from that once you actually get behind the wheel. Here comes traffic now for our GTD leaders. Up the inside of the Apex Mustang goes Eduardo Leo, and it looks like that'll be a clean pass there, but there's a whole line of GTPs behind them looking to take advantage. Past our Coanda 1-2 in GTD. Gently does it on your way out. Very slippery, especially in conditions like this. You mentioned track temperature before, Arjuna, and well, it's looking like about 22 Celsius on track, about 71, 72 Fahrenheit, which is certainly a bit frosty.
Well, it's still warmer than it was this year for the 2025 Rolex 24. I distinctly remember being on a golf cart with the responsible adult at IMSA Radio on the infield, ready to go to the broadcast booth for a little bit, and just sitting there and shivering. I felt like it was freezing. It might actually have been freezing, and that's why Michelin bring a soft compound of tire specifically for the Rolex 24. And we've got some new compound of tires to be thinking about for the 24 in just under 50 days time. Now that has really closed up the traffic. Scared Joey slightly as it blitzed past Johan Haag, but he's got a big smile on his face, and I don't blame him right now, because Joey, after starting down in 7th position, the Mustang has been picking its way through the pieces. There's a wrecked race car for Marcus Hamilton, and it will head straight back down to pit lane as the fight between De Jong and Leo continues. Oh, a lot more commitment from the American this time around. And I tell you what, Joey, he might finally have got alongside enough, headed through the flip-flop into the International Horseshoe. Porsche Coanda on the inside.
And maybe a little bit of elbow to the ribs there at the apex of turn number 3. Mitchell de Jong finally grabbing that 3rd place position back. And look at Denahan, now he's getting really aggressive. Here's the replay on the bottom part of the screen. Going into the Le Mans chicane, the number 4 car. It looked like it just got loose on entry, and once it got yawed out, he was on the brakes trying to stop the thing, but you are carrying a tremendous amount of speed into that section of the racetrack, and unfortunately along for the ride was Marcus Hamilton.
Yeah, there was a lot of concern about the exit curb at the bus stop, while the entry curb has grabbed one victim at the very least, as now officially half an hour complete. The lead is down to 4.5 seconds. Chris Lollam's pushing Alex Noguet in the fiercely forward Acura. Let's listen on board, though, here in the Acura for CrowdStrike. Bash straight over the curb and into the wall.
Yeah, that's crazy. Honestly, you mentioned the speed you carry into that corner. If you lose grip even slightly, if the car gets slightly unsettled, there's very little you can do to recover it at those speeds. You could see that Marcus was on the brakes. He was trying his best to correct the car, but there just wasn't enough space for him to recover, and into the tire barrier he went. So that's unfortunately likely another GTP that's fallen by the wayside is Jezza Esports. Well, they had problems in GTP with penalties. Now it's their GTD car's turn. 4 track limit strikes at turn 1 and turn 11. Looks like it's going to be far from the last, Arjuna, that we're going to see those kinds of penalties.
Apparently not. Jake Denahan, big send up the inside at the International Horseshoe, and the Irishman's made it stick as well. Excuse me, that's the Western Horseshoe, so they're about to head back onto the banking, and Mitchell de Jong, now that he's finally clear of the Italian Minister of Defense, Eduardo Leo, as we are going to officially appoint him today, he has got the sole task of closing the 6-second deficit to Chris Lollam, because there's a championship up for grabs here. Lollam within 4 seconds of the race leader, Joey. Eduardo's played the team game. Now it's up to his sister car to get the championship done and dusted.
That's a perfect picture of what the strategy is going on right now. So Mitchell's got his work cut out for him. Like you said, about 10 seconds all the way up to the lead. The problem, though, is that both of those cars in front of him, the fiercely forward car, as well as the BMW M-Team Redline car, are the two fastest cars on the track. A 132.9 out of our leader, a 133.3 out of Mitchell the last time by. Let's see if he picks it up this time by the stripe. No, once again, a 33.3 is some action going down into turn number 1. Some heavy over-unders, hard on that brake pedal pressure.
And that's where Marcus Amon's getting into the action as our Michelin wildcard, a newly announced Porsche Junior. To learn more about the series, iRacing.com/IMSA-Esports. Oh, what a season it has been as well. And the Michelin 240, not even 35 minutes complete, has delivered so much. Leo finally tucks back into line, down to 6 now eventually. Although he thought about a sniff back up the inside at the Western Horseshoe, and Gary Lettinen in that purple Williams Gaming Club Porsche 963 is going to try and now send it deep around the outside. I almost wonder if Leo is nursing a little bit of damage or something here, because comparing the pace of the two BMW M hybrids representing Team Redline here today, Joey, there is a marked difference that we're seeing right now.
I agree with you. I'm taking my cameras and looking around the car. I don't see any front end damage. They're side by side, wheel to wheel, going into the chicane, but this time Leo backs out a little bit early. But just because I can't see any damage on the front or the back of the car doesn't mean that it's not there. It could be on the underside of the car too. Remember, Robbie Foley, this is the 3rd time I've brought him up already this broadcast, but if you jump those curves going through that Le Mans chicane, it can certainly do damage on the underside of the car. Maybe that's where this number 34 is struggling.
And you can see it on the points. They are in danger of dropping behind Porsche Coanda as things run. And a long way to go. I've just got confirmation. I shot a message off and Luke McEwen has answered. They do have damage. They are nursing it. But we're not far away from the pit stop window, so we're about to get a sense for, well, A, how much longer they're going to need to sit and repair the car, but also what their pace is going to be like once they start to get those wrenches out, or if you're in the Jeremy Clarkson, Arjuna Kankipati School of Engineering, break the hammer out and get to work with the gaffer tape. Gap is starting to open up slightly between the GTDs. Johan Harth, his swan song with the Apex Racing team, to the outside of Tristan Iglesias. The Corvette gets the drive off the corner, but the Frenchman looking feisty, Reese.
Yeah, this is looking fantastic defensive from the Coanda car. Johan's really bringing the pace up, isn't he? That Mustang looks switched on. Don't forget, it wasn't too long ago that we saw him behind the rest of the top 4. Next penalty up for grabs here for the Adidas Racing by WSR car. Contact with the 120, granting them a drive-through penalty. That was with the Door Esports Mustang, currently driven by Damon Woods. Meanwhile, this is the view from the 4th place car, Beckham Jasir in the Lamborghini. Listen to that V10 sing. One of a few naturally aspirated cars in this GTD field, the other being the Mustang, I believe. And well, you can see that the Coanda cars are playing it very nicely up the front, not much between them.
We'll get one final chance to listen to this V10 Lamborghini roar as plenty of fuel saving, but let's listen in. Yes, the Lamborghini Temerario joins the IMSA paddock from the 12 Hours of Sebring in March. One final blast for the Huracan here in the virtual world. Let's go on board, powered by Michelin. a V10 screen that we can enjoy courtesy of our Michelin onboard. A great drone shot, the world's fastest drone, as we chase the GTPs off to turn 1. Eduardo Leo continuing to bleed time. Jesse Telkula, Dominic Hoffman, the defending race winner, is going to be able to get alongside, takes advantage of that, and they do make a bit of contact, some argy-bargy, and the Grid and Go Cadillac has to give up the ghost. Robin Schwanka in the Solpec Virtual Mindset 62 is sat there and waiting. Which way is he going to go, left or right? Meanwhile, bottom of the screen, big drama involving a championship contender. The Mahler Racing team came into the night third and, well, tangled up with a Corvette, and then bang, smash as they run down the track. Will Chadwick in the EMM Porsche makes contact, and Joey, that's an ugly and clumsy scene.
Yeah, that was rather unfortunate, especially for that Mahler Racing team, BMW. They were really in the thick of the championship, so unfortunate to see contenders kind of taken out like that. But hey, sometimes racing isn't always friendly, and there's a lot more lows than there are highs. But check out the action, getting squeezed into the back of a GT car going into the Le Mans chicane as we jump back up to our GTD leaders.
It is still 7 at the front as we close on 40 minutes complete. 2 final hours of this 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship to go, and did you see that from Tristan Iglesias as he wiggles the rear end? Swap around with the Coanda teammates as maybe some fuel mileage numbers being worked between them for the time being. And as all of this unfolds, we talk about fuel numbers. Reese, Team Redline have seen an opportunity. Damage on the Team Redline 34. They're in pit lane, 2 hours left to go. He'll be fuel tires and some damage repair before they send the car back out on track.
Yeah, so the 34 GTP in the pits getting that damage repaired. Yeah, likely floor damage from what we're hearing, so that will take a little bit of extra time to fix, but I think it's best to just pit as early as you can to repair it while still being able to run your strategy as expected to the end. It's a smart call from them to bring the car in now. Unfortunately, they won't have much help in the slipstream from here on out, at least for the next few laps.
That slipstream help, which here at Daytona so pivotal and determines the dynamic of racing. 2 hours left to go. Sun continuing to slowly rise. We will get into the full throes of the daylight by the time the checkered flag drops, but we'll see if the track temperature rises accordingly. Red line, 39.1 seconds, off and away. So it's not a long stop, Joey. It's not even a full service, which traditionally would be close to 42, 43 seconds.
I think that's good news for that team, though. That means that the damage probably wasn't that significant, so it probably got repaired during the fuel and tires, and now they're back out there on the racetrack. I think my one concern, though, is that when you are in the draft pack and you pit, you're going to come out with nobody else to draft with, so we're going to see if they can have the performance in the car to kind of make up that little bit of time lost. As you had mentioned, our 2 Coanda Esports machines, these Corvettes, they swapped around the lead at the end of lap number 21. Now, I'm just guessing here. I wonder if they are trying to equalize that fuel saving, like you had mentioned, try to make sure both cars are the exact same on the strategy.
So it's not papaya rules, it's purple and orange rules that exist between two Corvettes. Maybe, allegedly, that exist at the front. I mean, again, I go back to Sebring, where they ran like this until effectively the final lap of the race, when eventually they gave us a little bit of excitement. Top 7 continue to just eke away an advantage from those hunting them down. There's some Corvettes, a couple of Mustangs towards the front, some Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and then a couple of Aston Martins just on the edge of the top 10. Meanwhile, Porsche Coanda really looking in that rear-view camera, because the Irishman Jake Dennehan, who's already gained 9 spots from where they started this race, Reese, slowly starting to climb onto the back of the Porsche 963.
They certainly are. Meanwhile, our leaders have come into the pits. We have Fiercely Forward and BMW Team Redline in, and it looks like Denahan's going to follow them in as well. Marcus Amand bringing the Porsche Motorsport number 6 in. It looks like we're going to be seeing the majority of our GTP field coming in on this lap, but interesting to note that the Porsche Coanda 91 of Mitchell de Jong stays out. So does the Williams Gaming Club number 10, which, keep in mind, was the car that set the fastest time in qualifying, but lost the pole award. They've done a pretty good job getting themselves back near the front.
Yeah, got to give them credit. And I guess when Eduardo Leo continued to be so stringent on the defense, Mitchell went into fuel-saving mode. So doing a good job to eke out a lap here at the relatively lengthy Daytona International Speedway. Ooh, little wobble initially through the entry, but it's that third and fourth curves where, things get unsettled for the Solpec Virtual Mindset machine, and then not one but two bits of contact. It's the Cheza Porsche, David Toth at the wheel, that really puts the knife into the wound, Joey.
We always think of Daytona as an extremely large racetrack, right? Plenty of places to make passes. However, there are some single file sections, and that Le Mans chicane area is definitely one of them. Unfortunately, that driver's right wall has collected several, I shouldn't even say several, probably hundreds of cars throughout the years, and unfortunately collected a couple more virtually.
I think that means both Cheza cars are done, and that drive-through, or penalty rather, isn't going to make any difference given the sorry state of the Corvette for Cheza. As here comes Mitchell de Jong, just one lap extra compared to the rest of the field. Same for Jari Lehtinen behind, but a very short field for Chris Lullum. It was only about 33.5 seconds in the box. He is now 1.4 in front of Fiercely Forward, so some track position is swapped around. As on cold tires, it looks as though Marcus Amond's lost some ground on this lap. So there's some drivers in these cold conditions struggling a little bit, as yet another team and driver being whacked with a penalty, although I think they are actually going to come down and do something else here. It was just a drive-through penalty, Reese, but they've decided to stop as well.
Interesting. I don't know what the deal is there, so we'll see if they come back out and then do the penalty the lap after. I believe, yes, you will only have a limited amount of laps to actually serve that penalty before you get penalized further. Well, the GTP lead will fall to the number 33 BMW Team Redline, and Fiercely Forward moves back into second as the pit stops are complete for Williams Gaming Club and Porsche Coanda 91. Interestingly, it looks like the Williams Gaming Club car has gone for roughly the same strategy as our GTP leader. It's another stop that's around about 34-35 seconds, where we'd expect a full service stop to run 40 seconds plus.
So interesting that we do have some split strategies. Marcus Amond has headed straight back down to pit lane, so I'm wondering if that couple of seconds that I saw him lose on the outlap has resulted in something a little bit more significant. His pit stall shared with a Porsche. Don't worry, the virtual pit crew can phase between each other's Ghostbusters style, as our GTD pit window is slowly but surely approaching as well. Johan Hoth continuing to look feisty, but not forcing the issue just yet. He's got his former teammate Alejandro Sanchez in front of him. Recently left the Apex Racing team to line up with the purple and orange Coanda Esports team. Beckham Jasir, Daniel Lafuente, Rafael Renhofer, and then Benedict Vida. 7 cars in this train, and Joey, the deeper you are, the more fuel that you are saving, and so as the sun continues to rise in the background, I am wondering if we're going to see some of these cars at the back of this pack, maybe even able to go 2 laps longer than those at the front.
We'll see if they can actually pull that off. I mean, in the GTP class, we saw that number 91 go at least +1 lap in comparison to our leader. So it's definitely not out of the question. And remember, with the tire warm-up phase, it's actually better to go a little bit longer. When you go long, the car is completely empty on fuel, aka as light as it possibly gets. That is the fastest race car you'll be able to drive out there on the racetrack. If you pit early, you're going to have to not only do the tire warm-up procedure, which is slower laps, but you're also carrying a tank full of fuel, a heavier car. So if you can go +1, if you can go +2 and turn those into qualifying laps, you might be able to pull the overcut on such a train as long as this.
It's a different style of racing, that is for sure, than anything else we've seen this season. Starting, of course, at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, heading into the night. Then our trip to the Sebring International Raceway and the bumpy nature of that track before our split event. GTP's at the streets of Long Beach, as that's a Drago Racing GTP car that slips itself out wide as it tries to commit the long way around. Alexander Spetz is already 55 seconds off the lead, but trying to avoid losing any more time, and that's opened the door for Johan Harth. Never need to invite him twice. iRacing Rallycross World Champion going back 4 years now, but not going to be able to get alongside just yet, Reese.
Yes, and he'll have to start looking in his rearview camera, I should say, again pretty soon, because Bekan Jasir is still right there, and it seems like he himself is looking for some opportunities. All it takes is one tiny mistake from Harth, and we will see Jasir pounce and try and grab a top 3. A little bit more space now between the Coanda Corvettes thanks to that traffic, but I don't think that's too much to worry about at this point. If there's one thing I've noticed from the Coanda Corvettes this season, if there's a minor setback, they very quickly get back in line and back on track. But see how much Johan Harth lost to the 181 there on the way to the chicane. That's going to bring him under pressure from Jasir. We'll see how that plays out.
Take another look on board as Alexander Spetz, who had a great recovery drive at the first round of the season, threw it off the track and then fought his way back onto the podium. Well, throws it off the track, but does a great job, Joey, in the marbles to avoid making that any worse.
He does recover it, but it always makes me a little nervous if you're a GT driver and you see a prototype blow turn number 1. Are they going to be able to get it slowed down for turn number 3 there, which... Nice job there from the number 69. So it doesn't make any contact, doesn't interrupt the lead battle for GT at all, but it's always in the back of your mind as a driver, is it going to go deep yet again?
As we continue just to track these GTD cars now at most 10 minutes away from the first trip down pit lane, I want to give a congratulations to one half of our Coucher Team 92 driver lineup. Ivan Machado Perez was last year's Skip Barber iRacing shootout winner, as we see confirmation of a drive-through penalty for Scuderia Ferrari for blocking a prototype. So that's not often that you'll see that, but blocking the Coucher Team, interesting. But yes, Ivan Machado Perez was last year's Skip Barber iRacing shootout winner. Went on to convert that to the Skip Barber Formula Championship this year. Well, his teammate Aaron Vasquez has just come off winning this year's Skip Barber iRacing shootout, Joey, and so he'll get that same opportunity to go race for a full season here in America and try and win that same championship as Ivan. Great to see another one of our drivers continuing that path from sim to real.
The sim to reality pathway has been paved from several drivers in the last handful of years, and like you said, we got a couple more. I had the very fortunate opportunity to meet Ivan Perez out there and actually call one of his Formula 4 based races out at New Orleans Motorsport Park. That was pretty fun to watch him actually go from the sim world into the real world, and this is that lead battle up front here in GTD. And even though, folks, Black Friday is over, you still can get 50% off of new iRacing memberships now through January 6th. So if you're thinking about it, go ahead and join us here on the virtual racetrack.
And look at this beautiful sunrise. I still remember the first iRacing Daytona 24. It was all in daytime. The second iRacing Daytona 24, it was all in nighttime. And now that we've got the full day-night transitions, the weather system that plays into that with the rain interruptions, sprinkling in some intrigue, the 24 Hours of Daytona has truly become a tentpole event for sim racers across the world. Tens of thousands join us every year. They flood the poor iRacing servers that get stood up just for the weekend. And I'm looking forward to having your company at the start of January for the 2026 iRacing Daytona 24. We'll talk more about all of the special events to come, and I'm sure what is going to be another exciting year of iRacing disciplines to mix and match your way through. Another issue for the 169 that's lost a bit of ground out on track. Remember, Hugh Barter got involved on lap number 1, and Race the Day continues just to pile on the misery for him.
Yeah, it looks like Drago's not had a great run of things, and wow, that is some big contact from one of the GTPs there. You actually get a good look at how the grass falls off from the edge of the racetrack in that section of the lap, and well, GTP on GTD violence certainly has a factor. So is pit stops now, as it looks like that's going to be Alejandro Sanchez bringing the 181 in, Daniel Lafuente following him in.
Now remember, Lafuente does have a penalty, so I'm wondering if he's going to serve that this time by and then actually come in next lap to do his full service. Now, how do you approach this if you're Johan Hart? Because in my mind, Joey, I would actually prefer to be the car in front, heading down to pit lane. I really would not like to be behind anyone else and lose potential time if they're too tentative on pit entry.
And I think we got our answer with the fuel save between the two Coanda cars. Remember, the car that just came in was leading for those first 20 laps, did not be able to save as much fuel as the teammate car in the 118. But I think that Johan Hart here in the Ford Mustang is in the best position of all. He's had somebody braking all of the air in front of him the entire 31 laps so far. Let's see if this Mustang can go +1 in comparison to the Corvette. I also think this Mustang is the fastest car on the racetrack. He's just kind of been patiently waiting, biding his time.
What I will say is the Corvettes have had a good fuel advantage in terms of BOP over the season, so would not be surprised if the Mustang has to work harder to save fuel at the same rate as the Coanda Corvettes have been able to do with a little less hard work. That's a beautiful shot of the sun continuing to rise. The temperature in sim does not get anywhere near as cold as what, at least air temperature wise, it is potentially going to be in January. Are they both going to shuffle below the yellow line? Hart has got to be careful here. And behind them, the field is going to streak in. It's looking like a 31 lap run is the most you can do at the start of this. And so filter in. It was a full service last time as well from Sanchez, 40 seconds. So not much weirdness going on. Beckham Jasir, he goes long. Only car to do so, Reese.
Yeah, interesting there. Well, I suppose it makes sense, though. Beckham was, fourth in line for the majority of that time we saw the leaders battling. So let's see if this works out for him. Relatively clear track around him. Couple of GTPs here and there coming up on him, but he should still be able to maximize his pace. Potentially, straight line speed will suffer and lap time will suffer on the in-lap. Getting the out-lap and the in-lap right is so important, and you've got to be so careful there. It's another narrow piece of the track. The Porsche Coanda car just slipping up the inside, and maybe not the best exit onto the back straight. But you make a good point about the sunrise, Arjuna. Sunrise is one of my favorite times of the day, and in about an hour or so, I will be experiencing that in the real world myself here in Australia. So, yeah, it's good to get a little preview here in virtual Florida.
We appreciate you sacrificing your sleep schedule for the 4 races that we've had. That was aggressive from Grid and Go to slide in front of the Lamborghini, and it really slowed their momentum, but they made it work. That's all they can really do. Yeah, we're only 48 days away from the green flag of the 2026 Rolex 24, the start of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship once again. So someone in chat saying there's a 3-month off season. That's news to me. I'll leave it at that.
You got the November test, right?
True. That technically after that is when the off season begins. So effectively 6-ish weeks if you're not racing in the Middle East, which I know many of the drivers at least will be doing so. Confirmation of a penalty. This full contact with the Porsche Coanda number 91. And so Jake Dennehan has been dinged, although I think now he's handed over to Jesse Telko. Never mind, I'm getting my Grid and Go cars mixed up, Reese.
Yeah, what I was yelping in response to was this 118. They've had a spin. One of the Coanda cars has had some big dramas coming onto the oval, coming out of turn 6, and it looks like it was a solo error.
Grab a replay in a moment, but remember that the championship lead had switched hands coming into this race. It was the 181 that had contact at the roller coaster at VIR that promoted the 118 into the championship lead, and Tristan Iglesias, well, 5-10 seconds, however much time he has lost, has he just gifted the chance for the 181, Alejandro Sanchez and Xander Reed to grab the championship by the scruff of the neck, because Joey, we talked about it in our championship scenarios in Countdown to Green presented by Michelin. Between the Coanda pair, it's win and you're champion.
And that's all that they are focused on right now, is getting to that checkered flag. So unfortunate. Here's the replay on the bottom of the screen. It's actually going to happen at the top of the banking. The Corvette putting the power down, but remember, they just came down, put brand new tires and a full tank of fuel. Look at how close everybody gets to avoiding that Coanda Corvette. Thankfully, no damage, but I think it's down to cold tires trying to put all of that horsepower down to the ground with a minimal downforce setup.
Wow, that was close. Drive-through penalty for the 95, which made contact with the 169 Drago racing machine. Attrition has been a big part of today. 54 started. I see a less than 40 running uninterrupted at this point, as more and more race controls and interventions are required. As we close on 1 hour complete now, on the other side of the pit stop window, Johan Hart has jumped in front. It wasn't on pit lane because he spent a little bit longer in the lane itself. What has happened is out on track, they've swapped around and Hart has grabbed the net race lead, although Alessandro Bico for Williams Sim Racing place seat, they went that 1 lap longer, and even with that 1 lap extra stint, Reese, they've been able to emerge in the race lead, and the order has chopped and changed as we close on 1 hour done.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that that was a timing glitch on my end. I thought surely the 167 would have fallen behind Apex and Coanda, but apparently that's not the case. And a bit of a middle-of-the-road pit stop, all things considered. It was around about 40 seconds for the Coanda 181 in the box, 41.5 seconds for Apex Racing Team, and 41 seconds flat for Alessandro Bico there, as Beckham Jasir handed the car over to him. So let's see how this battle turns out. The two cars behind them certainly have the pace to win, but track position in the meantime belonging to Williams Sim Racing.
And, you know, just to jump in here real fast to talk about that strategy that, Reese, you were just mentioning, kind of have that Lamborghini jump out in front. I think it's just down to the +2 laps. Remember, the tires, it's not just 1 lap that it takes to get up to temperature. So if you can go more than +1, if you can go +2, it should help build that advantage even more.
Well, as we close on the first hour complete here in the Michelin 240, let's give you a quick rundown of the front 5 in the respective classes. It's BMW M Team Redline, a monster effort from Chris Lullen to rise to the front in the BMW M Team Redline machine. Fiercely forward, our eventual pole sitters have held on to second with a slightly different strategy, while Grid and Go, Williams Gaming Club, and Porsche Coanda your top 5. It is BMW M Team Redline, though, crucially in control of the championship. GTD, we've been wondering about strategy and finally getting some answers. Williams Sim Racing Placey, Apex Racing Team, and Coanda's 181 breaking away from the rest of the contingent behind. Drago Racing leapfrogging through the field in the pit stop sequence, and fiercely forwards Lamborghini rounding out the front 5 as opening up the steering. Alejandro Sanchez is just saving his fuel for the time being, because ultimately, championship-wise, he does not need to force the issue. Out through the international horseshoe, just listening into the sounds, a little bit of fuel saving continuing to go on. Joey, let's take one more look at this, because it's a wild monster moment, potentially swinging the championship on board with the screaming Lamborghini.
Oh, and there was contact there, and then there's the Coanda Esports machine spinning themselves out at the exit at turn number 6. So it wasn't just the Corvette having issues. All of these GT cars pushing it to the absolute limit, especially on the tire warm-up process. And then check this out, even going into the Le Mans chicane. Let's see about an aggressive move here. How do these GT cars bounce it up over those curves? Oh, the Lamborghini way out of shape, jumping over the first curve. And then huge contact on apex number 4. Very unfortunate right there.
Well, so that's potentially something that race control will look at, because yes, the Lamborghini was already out of control, but did the second car have a choice to make that less risky of a scenario instead of sticking the nose in? Well, a bit of deja vu. Mitchell de Jong, Eduardo Leo back together once again. have to wait and see if Reese, there is still lasting damage on the team red line number 34, which dropped back so much in those first 30-40 minutes of the race, and now having to fight their way back up through the field.
Well, looking at the lap times as he goes for the move, coming into turn 1, squeezed to the apex by De Jong. Looks like the side-by-side is going to continue here. They're flicking back and forth on the timing. Looks like it's a successful defense for the Porsche, though. They do wash wide, and that is going to bring Dominic Hoffman into the picture in the BMW BS Competition 89, and they have got our GTD leaders up ahead of them. Oh my goodness, side by side by side, all the way through the narrowest part of the racetrack. How on earth did they make it through there? Incredible driving from all 6 of these competitors here. Looking at the lap times, Eduardo Leo seems to be okay, I think. The damage looks like it's been negated, but I think slipstream is going to play a part in that. He was about 0.2 of a second faster than De Jong on the last lap.
Bottom right of your screen, you can see the confirmation that not only is the 181 in championship at the strongest championship position, but they have put themselves now with an extra car to their teammate, the Apex Racing Ford Mustang, up to second as this runs for the time being. Remember that points format, 350 for a race win, 320 for second, 300 for third, and then 280, 260, and 250. 10-point increments from there on forward, so there is a bit more incentive to make your moves at the front of the field and consistently put yourself in great spots as these cars head back to the line, not expecting much of a squabble between them. Noting that Mitchell de Jong has got back in front of Eduardo Leo, Dominic Hoffman is there too. I mean, these cars tripping over one another, and last lap alone, Joey, they cost each other 0.6 to the race leaders. That's exactly what Mitchell de Jong does not want to see.
Correct. When we talk about strategy, you want to be out there running by yourself on the racetrack. You don't want anybody else holding you up, whether that's GT cars or whether that's a pesky prototype in the mirror trying to lunge into the brake zone. No matter what, it can cost you time out there on the racetrack, and so sometimes in the real world, it's a little bit easier to ignore them. Here in the virtual world, we have so many methods to track the cars, whether it's the relative box, whether it's data, whether it's crew chiefs and spotters on the radio with you. So I think here in the sim world, it actually gets the anxiety going a little bit more. And look at Leo. He's trying to pack the pressure on Mitchell right now going into that Le Mans chicane, but he actually slips up right in the middle of it. This is going to give an opportunity to Dominic Hoffman.
Although I think Hoffman not going to force the issue here. He had a little bit shorter of a stop. I think that was to gain some track position. And so some fuel mileage needed on these BMW M Hybrid V8s, which when we head to Daytona in 2026, will be sporting a slightly repackaged front end. And with a brand new service provider, Team WRT, taking the reins from Team RLL to campaign this car in the 2026 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Chance for us to breathe for the first time in quite a while. An hour complete, 90-ish minutes to go. There have been a couple of driver changes here and there, but by no means do we have a firm understanding for how the strategy will settle itself back out. To talk about strategy, though, you need to get to the end. So let's continue to pick our way through the replays. It's Owen Carroll, Casey Kerwin, the Channel 199 Sim Racing Cadillac that's going to get to the outside of Coucher Team to turn 1, and then try to pop to the inside of the Maniti BMW, RG Bargy. But Carroll makes it work, Reese.
Yeah, only just though. That kind of contact can sometimes result in race-ending damage in these GTPs. You know, in some ways they are a lot more fragile than you think, and in other ways they're a bit tougher than you think. So they managed to get away with that one. A little bit of a bump and sneaking up the inside. I think Daytona really lends itself well to those kinds of moves, because you've got so many corners where the apex really tightens. The Western Horseshoe is one corner where that happens, and there's also turn 1. So if you're having trouble under the brakes and you leave that apex open, every chance in the world the driver chasing you is going to get alongside.
For those of you that are going to be at the Rolex 24 next year, you'll get a chance to kind of see those different radiuses that Reese is talking about and the driving lines that in particular they kind of run as well. My personal recommendation though would be to go and sit inside of turn 6, the corner that leads you back onto the banking. You get to hear the cars downshift, an amazing noise, but then you also get to kind of hear them as they spool up and head on to all 2.5 miles of the banking. Let's chat to Casey Kerwin. He's standing by with Joey.
Yeah, Casey Kerwin, happy to have you here in the broadcast booth. How's everything going from your point of view so far? You haven't hopped in the car yet. Everything nice and calm?
It's been very chaotic on track, but I've enjoyed watching from above. Yeah, it's been crazy. Owen did a great job missing everything in the first set. Unfortunately, we had contact with the GT3, so apologies to that GT3 team. But yeah, we got a drive through, so we lost a bit of time. But yeah, still with a shot at a decent fight. We're with the 92 car, which is kind of who we're fighting in points. So I should still got some stuff to fight for to the end.
We just saw that move of Owen throwing it down the inside of turn number 1. What'd you think about that one?
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah, I think it was on the limit from both guys there, but they made it through clean. You know, it was a good effort. We're all for a bit of good racing, and yeah, hopefully we have more shots at them later in the race.
And then, Casey, real fast before I let you go, you know, this is the last round of the championship here. How do you guys think you've done so far as a team?
We've done okay. Wish we could have had a bit more pace. Yeah, but just kind of controlling what we can control. I feel like we've done okay. Like we maximized for sure. Like at Road Atlanta, Sebring, I picked up a little bit of damage in the first stint to kind of put us back a little bit, but we weren't very quick there either. And then Long Beach, just with the rain, unfortunately our car just struggles a bit in the rain, but we survived. And so finishing 8th there, I felt like was pretty good. And yeah, so I think we've done okay. Obviously it hasn't been the cleanest season, but it's been okay and been fun, which is the main thing. And yeah, I think we're still kind of in the hunt for like 8th in points, 7th in points, something like that. So yeah, still got stuff to fight for, and hopefully yeah, we can just maximize the rest of the race.
Well, I tell you what, we've really enjoyed watching you guys pair up this year, so good luck when you hop in the car, and definitely a vote for my favorite livery this year.
Yes, very nice. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Well, Arjuna, that was Casey Kerwin. He'll be hopping in that car here in probably a handful of laps.
Always great to have Casey join us. He has really fallen in love with sports car racing, makes a point of going to Long Beach every year that he can. While we continue to track the GTD leaders, big drama at the front of the GTP field where a drive-through penalty for Fiercely Forward and for Alex Noguet will see them drop back in the running order around 30-odd seconds. And so contact with the 119, that's the Team PGZ BMW. Reese, a solid showing for them to open up this race, but it's unfortunately coming unstuck.
Yeah, that's a real shame. It breaks my heart when that happens. You know, remember that's the car that officially has been awarded the Pole Award, thanks to the Williams Gaming Club having that track limits violation in qualifying. So they will at least have that to bring out from this round. Now they need to rejig their strategy somewhat, or at least look for more opportunities now that they've had to make that tour through the pits. They come out in 7th in class as we keep an eye once again on our GTD leaders. There's been a couple of occasions where GTPs have come through on these guys and split them up a little bit, but I think I said this a bit earlier about the Coanda Corvettes, but I'm gonna just throw a blanket over all of the top 3 in GTD right now. They've done a very good job of closing up the gap. I think, you know, they're really on that fuel-saving grind at the moment.
Sometimes it does feel like a grind, although I think at Daytona, when you get into that rhythm and you're just hitting your marks time and time again, sometimes you fall into a bit of a trance. But as the sun continues to rise, the track continues to look more and more golden. The pace is continuing to ratchet up as well. And BMW M Team Redline, I mean, maybe missed the mark in qualifying slightly, but the race pace has been blistering. 12 odd seconds now in front of Grid and Go and Jake Dennehan with the Williams Gaming Club machine that did have the penalty for the qualifying infringement, dropped to the back of the class, back up into third position in what has been a very solid fight back from them. Joey, one thing that I think you had noted as well was through all of the chaos of the pit stop sequence, Coanda's 118 only lost a couple of seconds to their championship rivals.
It's pretty amazing, but first we got another penalty, a drive-through for track limits violation on the number 60 Solpec. But yeah, back to your point about that 118, Tristan Iglesias is in the car right now. Remember, we saw him come to a complete stop on the banking. Usually when you don't lose time like that, it's in a slow corner, not on such a fast accelerating part of the track. So do not count out the 118 yet. Remember, we still have a whole nother pit stop, and I think that Tristan is on the gas, doing 11 tenths right now, trying to go as fast as possible, closing it back up to our leaders.
I'm trying to figure out what they're going to be able to do strategy-wise to find themselves closing in, but that's all to come as we wind our way to the checkered flag of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. BMW M Team Redline, Williams Sim Racing placing in control as we make our way into the sunrise on the run to the checkered flag.
At Michelin, we don't just race for medals. We race to test, to learn, to find answers, to discover innovative ways. We race to take on challenges, to overcome technology limits, to improve the way we all move, to make possible what is not. No, at Michelin, we do not race just for glory. We race for change.
The IMSA Esports Global Championship is brought to you by Michelin, the official tire of IMSA. Michelin is the exclusive tire provider for all classes of the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, Michelin Pilot Challenge, and VP Racing Sports Car Challenge Series. Michelin, motion for life. By AMD. AMD Ryzen 9 9950X 3D processors with 2nd Gen AMD 3D V-Cache technology are available for a massive gaming performance boost. Visit AMD.com to learn more. By VCO. Discover the format that never sleeps. VCO Infinity. Across February 14th and 15th, the world's best take on 24 races in 24 hours. 45-minute sprints with 5 car classes across 5 different tracks. All the while, constant driver rotations turn strategy into a sport of its own. Every race counts. Every moment matters. Apply to be a part of this unique enduro sprint at vco-infinity.com. And by iRacing Arcade. Wishlist iRacing Arcade and check out the free gameplay demo on Steam. Coming to Windows PC on Steam in early 2026. Learn more at iRacingArcade.com.
The sun rises as the Ferris wheel stands above the action here at the World Center of Racing. Would be a great spot to sit to watch the sunrise in the horizon and see the cars thrash around the Daytona International Speedway. We have got a flurry of activity in pit lane for the GTP class, as after a sterling opening stint of the race, it is a driver change for BMW M Team Redline. In terms of GTD Championship implications, remember a slight spin for Tristan Iglesias slightly earlier. Cold tires coming out of pit lane and trying to get himself back up to speed on the banking. Sweeps out a bit too wide. The balance of the car pirouettes around and almost runs into the sister car in what could have been a pivotal moment. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardner and Joey Atterbury. And Reese, almost halfway through this Michelin 240, things poised on a knife edge.
That they are. This GTD top 3 has been going at it for the majority of the race now, and there's been a few changes here and there, but the Apex Racing Team Mustang has kept it clean where one of our Coanda Corvettes has not, and they've elevated themselves into provisional second in the championship at the moment, but only 2 points in between themselves and the second of the Coanda machines. It's looking though like Coanda at the moment still on course to potentially take that GTD team's title by the end of things. And they've got to keep an eye out for the Williams Sim Racing Playseat car as well. A little bit of a spanner in the works in this fight.
In terms of the championship as well, Tristan Iglesias finds himself with 3 seconds between him and Drago Racing's Nicholas Rubilar, who in turn is only about half a second away from getting into draft range. You can see the white Aston Martin at the tail end of the shot for a moment as they head towards the International Horseshoe, but give it a bit of traffic. It's not helping Rubilar here. Instead, what it's doing is really mixing up the GTP title fight, where after pit stops for BMW M Team Redline saw Diogo Pinto take over from Chris Lullum. Joey, the battle between the other Team Redline car, Eduardo Ley, who now sends it to the outside of the American Mitchell de Jong in the Porsche Coanda 963. Oh, jinx to the inside and into the grass as they switch past the GTDs, but this has been the battle of the race so far.
The argument of who wants the inside line on some of these slow infield sections, and right now Mitchell has got a rear view mirror full of Eduardo Leo. That's that Team Redline number 34 sitting in the slipstream right now. Mitchell all the way down to the inside in a defensive posture, almost some contact between the two. De Jong going to have the inside there going into that Le Mans chicane, and it has brought up once again their familiar buddy Dominic Hoffman. That's that third prototype in line. He's joining the party too.
Not far back is our pole sitter, Alex Nogue, in the Fiercely Forward 11, who got a drive-through penalty and is now on the fight back. You can see the points in the bottom right, but of course BMW M Team Redline have already made a trip down pit lane that these two have not done just yet. They'll head to a BMW, and that will force Eduardo Leo to tuck back into line. The Mahler BMW, as it pitter-patters around in 25th position, unfortunately for Rainer Tauval. That's third in the championship gone, and no chance of fighting back for them. Dominic Hoffman in the BMW M Team BS Plus competition, number 89. He's another one of the teams that didn't qualify well, much like we saw from Chris Lullum, and so a sterling opening half of this race, Reese, has put them in this position. But they've still got some work to do, and I think they will be very aware of the fact there's two championship rivals battling in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye out for further developments as the number 60 Solpec Precision machine has had another problem, unfortunately. Well, I'm hearing fasten your seatbelts from the producer's chair and over the curbs. Oh dear!
Oh no!
Okay. Okay, that's a whole body tensing up moment watching that. Ever since that tire bundle was put in at the Apex in the real world, I've wondered how long is it going to take for someone to hit that in the sim world, and we just saw that in quite a big way.
Well, that's a big one. Don't really think there's much more to add. Pit stops for Jere Lehtinen, for Jake Dennehan. My assumption is driver changes as well, as these cars continue to stay out on track, and Mitchell de Jong very grateful to be able to put a GTD between him and Eduardo Leo, at least for the time being. Hoffman not close enough to scramble and take advantage into the International Horseshoe, where now high speed run towards the left-hand kink that builds you into the braking zone of the second of the horseshoes. Got to be very careful not to lock the brakes in these GTPs. Very easy with their lack of downforce. It impacts the braking performance of the car as well, and easy to lock up the left and right front tire as you load the steering in as well. If you want to follow along with live timing and scoring, Lifetiming.iracing.com to figure out where your favorite teams and drivers are. One more look at this replay, though, as it's going to go bounce over one curb. It's really the third part of this corner, though, where things go wrong.
Yeah, had it really narrow. You nailed it. Third apex jumped over that curb, and it literally bounced them, drivers left head on into that tire bundle. So unfortunate there for that number 60 Solpec Precision Racing machine. But back up front at this battle here, Eduardo Leo still holding off Dominic Hoffman for the time being, and we got more drive-through penalties. Unfortunately for Team Redline, the number 101, their GT car, is going to be getting a drive-through penalty. And I just mentioned this one. Eduardo Leo is actually coming down pit lane right now. Remember, they stopped a little bit early to fix that damage. They're about 5 laps in front of everybody else in terms of that strategy. That's why they are down early.
And it's going to be a driver change. Eduardo Leo will jump out. Luke McEwen will jump into the car. I did get a message from Gustavo Ariel, by the way, Team Redline driver, who says that, well, no matter which one of the Redline cars wins the championship, he's driven for both of them. So he can claim he's a champion no matter which way it goes, which is always a pleasant thing to do when teammates are squabbling for a championship, and especially one as significant and as high stakes as this. We aren't far away, though, from the iRacing Daytona 24, which I love. It's one of my favorite events of the year because no matter where you are in the world, you get a chance, Reese, to experience what a 24-hour race is all about. And we have tens of thousands of drivers who come and join us, real-world drivers, people who are just picking it up for the very first time, and it's a celebration of what the Rolex 24 and what racing should really be about.
Yeah. I really love it when the Daytona 24 comes around every year on iRacing. You know, me being a sim racer myself, it's a great opportunity to experience what it's like to compete and be dealing with the ever-changing conditions as you go into the night and through the sunrise into day. You know, feeling out the track as it heats up and cools down over time, managing the traffic. You know, it's all the same sort of things that drivers experience in the real world, and you'll be able to experience it here right here on iRacing in January. Pit stop and driver change for the number 89, Phil Dennis, making his way into the BMW M Team BS competition as this lead battle in GTD shows no signs of slowing down, but maybe a lane left open to the inside there by Alessandro Bico. Johan Harth does not take it.
Trust. I think that's what we have at the front of this field. Go back to Phil Dennis for a second. He recently moved out of his native or a home in Carmel, California, near the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Moved to a much more remote location, and if you're ever wondering if Starlink internet is good enough to go racing on, well, Phil's racing on Starlink here in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. So if you're looking for a setup to go and iRace, Starlink can make it work no matter where you are around the world. Sun's rising. Weather-wise, though, it is still fairly stagnant. Haven't seen the air temperature rise much, haven't seen the track temperature rise much either. Joey, what that does mean is balance-wise, these teams have had a relatively static condition to develop their cars for.
Correct. However, what has been changing is the sun in the driver's eyes, right? It's just been headlights that they've been dealing with. However, now the sun is kind of officially up. We're going to start to see it kind of peek out from behind the clouds here soon. Here is our overall leader, the number 91. And speaking of the sun, there it is with that world-famous Ferris wheel over there at Daytona. Arjuna, you ever been on that thing before?
Yes. Although me and my friend, we tried to time it so that we'd go up when there's fireworks. Then we saw the line to get onto the Ferris wheel at that time and realized, you know what, that wasn't going to work out. It's a glorious sight, and yeah,
it's cold. It's cold up there, isn't it?
Yes. The good thing about being at the Rolex 24 for me this year, Joey, is I'll have my fire suit on.
Yeah, fire suit plus Nomex underneath, and make sure to pack on those layers. It does get very, very cold, but one thing is for sure, it is starting to warm up, given that the sun is finally above the horizon. And just kind of put it into perspective, the drivers are going to have to be looking into it at some of these apexes and coming out of turn 6.
And that's where dialing in your visual settings is going to be important. Virtual reality, there's not much you can really do in that scenario, but a lot of drivers have tools to make it slightly easier. Did see driver change, by the way, to Porsche Coanda, Mitchell de Jong out, Josh Rogers in, and cold tires, but Rogers has come out just in front of the Williams Gaming Club at number 10. Not expecting that to last very long, and once Rogers gets himself up to speed, we will find ourselves seeing if there's any chance for Rogers to hunt down a 13-second advantage that Diogo Pinto now has at the front of this GTP field. Porsche Coanda, the task is simple: win this race and hope one of the, or both of the Team Redline cars finish outside of the front 5. That is looking somewhat unlikely right now. What is looking likely, I think, Reese, though, is that Drago Racing are going to end up in this draft sooner rather than later. It's hovering at 1.8 seconds now, and poor Nicholas Rubelar is having to wring the teeth of the Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's a difficult task when you have the front 3 drafting with each other around the oval and giving themselves all the straight line speed in the world. Meanwhile, you've got to punch the hole through the air for yourself, and you've got to deal with traffic and all sorts of things besides. There goes the move for the lead. Johan Harth to the front in the Apex Racing Team Mustang.
I said trust, but I guess trust on both sides as well there, that if the move was going to be offered, that it wouldn't be defended, and the traffic incoming. And I guess as well, nearing the latter stage of the stint, Joey, maybe Johan has done enough fuel saving and he's now got a chance to let the V8 Coyote engine that powers that Mustang loose a little bit more.
You and I are on the same page. I think it's finally go time for that Apex Racing Team Ford Mustang. So we're going to see if Johan can literally put the foot to the floor and start to stretch it out over all of his competitors in that rear view mirror. I firmly believe that he's actually been one of the fastest cars all race long, and look at what it's done to that GTD points. Now only 5 points behind that Coanda Corvette, who is sitting in 3rd place right now. I like this strategy call. Let's see how fast this Mustang can gallop.
Just watching the line. Oh, that Corvette got unsettled and now has to gather the speed back up. Very interesting just watching the behavior of the 3 different manufacturers running 1, 2, and 3. How they're able to run over that curve. Remember, Ford Racing have announced a new Mustang Evo for 2026, a slightly redesigned front end amongst the highlights of the package. Get to see how competitive it is when it tries to defend its Daytona 24 win from 2025 in about 50 days' time. That did look as though Coanda, Alejandro Sanchez, thought about trying to pull alongside of Alessandro Bico, but recognized that really not much to be gained right now. Then lunges up the inside through the international horseshoe. Showed the nose once, showed the nose twice, but with traffic closing behind them, they'll be 3 wide in towards the King. The prototype backs out of it, sees the battle with implications in front of him, and the Italian slams the door shut and covers the inside, Reese.
Yeah, that was pretty tense. I've been in that position before as a prototype driver coming up to that kink. You see GT cars battling side by side and you think, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to lift off and wait for them to sort themselves out. That's what Elio Noren, who's taken over that fiercely forward teal number 11, just had to deal with. And well, that little bit of side by side has given some more breathing room to Johan Harth, but crucially, the other 2 are still within slipstream range. Looks like a gap of about half a second or so, and decreasing as they make their way up to the Le Mans chicane again. And you mentioned that the Corvette is maybe having a couple of issues there at that chicane. You saw it right there. Sanchez maybe a little bit deeper into the chicane than Bico was, and by the same token, I couldn't help but notice at turn 1 the Lamborghini on entry was looking a little bit twitchier.
Looking like a little bit of a charging bull on occasions. We're going to get only I say 5 more laps or so before the pit window would open, and you theoretically can make it to the end with a pit stop. Now, does that mean they will want to come in? That's a different question, but that's where the strategists, well, they make their money, and we leave them to it. Mitchell de Jong's made his money. He's left the car in the hands of Josh Rogers. He's standing by with Joey.
Yeah, well, Mitchell finally hopped out of that prototype machine. How are you feeling after that stint?
Yeah, that was a really difficult one, not going to lie. I think we all can probably figure out why. I mean, obviously we're battling both redline cars for the championship, even though we're a bit behind. But yeah, we just were trying to survive the minefield out there. And really difficult to save fuel and kind of hit the strategy we wanted to with all of that chaos and battling and holding track position going on. But yeah, I managed to get through it. Was okay with the track limits. I think we all saw that. Oh my gosh.
Did that make you a little nervous right there, Mitchell?
That's a great live reaction on. Well, we gained a position. But yeah, we, up until that point, kept together with track limits and everything, so it's a safe pair of hands with Josh, so I think we should be okay.
And then really, how worried are you guys about that number 34 car? Obviously, you had a tremendous battle with them early in the race. They had a little bit of damage, then they kind of crept up in the rearview mirror, and they kind of seemed like a little bit of a pest, never going away.
Yeah, like you said, that is the case. They also gave us a little bit of damage in that last stint with all the battling, so I think we got it mostly repaired this time. But yeah, I mean, now we should not have to do any fuel saving and stuff, so hopefully Josh can just put in some good laps and stay away from him now. That will be the goal, so yeah, we'll see.
And last question for you. I know it's going to be pretty tough, but do you guys have the pace to go chase down that 33 or maybe have some strategy cards up the sleeve?
Truthfully, we don't think so. Even in practice today, we were like, wow, everyone's really fast, and we're not sure if we can do that pace. So honestly, I feel like it's a little bit of a miracle that we're already this far up. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen in Josh's hands here, so I'm excited to see what he can do.
Well, we'll be watching Josh for the rest of the race. Thank you so much for coming out and racing with us. Great job out there by Mitchell de Jong and Arjuna, that is on board the number 91.
Mitchell pulling double duty this weekend as well. Was racing yesterday in the Digital Nürburgring Landstracken Series as Commander Esports partner up with the Haupt Racing team to enter some Ford Mustangs in the GT3/SP9 class. While we were talking to the pairing of the 91, replays that need some attention, and so this is the Williams Gaming Club Porsche 963 with the entry in towards the chicane. Look at the speed at which they commit as well. It is a sight to behold, and it's that fourth and final bit of the curbing that catches them out. Great reactions from Rogers to go up high, Reese, and just slide through. But that is what Daytona and that chicane is all about nowadays.
You know, as Joey was talking to Mitchell, I was thinking to myself, the last time we saw Josh Rogers take the wheel of this number 91 was all the way back at the first round, and he didn't even make it a quarter of a lap around Road Atlanta before contact wiped that car out and put them in that sort of from the back championship position that they're currently in. Also worth noting, Moreno Surica ran over the turtles, I suppose you could call them, at the fourth apex of the chicane, exactly where Rogers is going through right now. Rogers made the same error at the same time. I think him jumping on the brakes to try and find his way through that spin saved him from a crash himself.
Well, sometimes fortune favors the lucky, as it was in this situation, but it's not the first time we'll see something like that. Maybe not the last time. I saw a question in our IMSA YouTube chat: do the teams stick with the same car all through the entire championship? And the answer to that is yes. Not only that, but there's an equal number of each of the cars in the field. So there's 4 of each GTD cars, there's 5 of each GTP machine, and the teams at the start of the season headed to the virtual Sebring had to set 10 laps with 2 drivers, and the fastest in each car were able to win that particular car. So they earned the right to represent the manufacturer, Joey, and it really meant that if you felt one car had some stronger points on the schedule than others, it was up to you to pick that car and then earn the right to have it the full season.
And I got to give you props for coming up with that method, that algorithm, if you will, because usually if teams see a fast car or an advantage, they're just automatically going to pick it. But then how do you have representation from all of the manufacturers out here? So, Arjuna, I think that what you do with the preseason and making sure that everybody is slotted into each of their manufacturers and competitive as a move contact wheel to wheel there with the number 95, I believe. That was some contact going up into turn number 6. But I just wanted to give you major props because it's not always easy to represent every single manufacturer, have them all even, and even the BOP.
Oh yeah, and that's where the iRacing BOP team have earned their weight in chocolate to round out 2025, in my opinion. Deliver all the donuts, all the goodies for the thankless tasks that they often have to do. If you look at the manufacturers as it stands right now, a BMW leads a Cadillac from a Porsche in GTP. In GTD, it's Ford Mustang, Lamborghini, and Chevy Corvette as the Coucher team. And Channel 199, Casey Curran, we caught up with him slightly earlier. Well, he's in the car and on the back of Aaron Vasquez, newly minted Skip Barber iRacing shootout winner. Back up to Rogers, who's starting to look in the rearview mirrors now because Reese Luke McEwen taking over from Eduardo Leo. Well, from defense to offense for the team Redline 34.
Yeah, Redline 34, the fastest car in the GTP class on the previous lap, but their time was only 12 thousandths of a second quicker. 8 thousandths of a second quicker than Joshua Rogers' previous lap. So things are looking interesting for this fight at the moment. Potential podium for Porsche Coanda, but like Mitchell de Jong said in his interview with Joey earlier, it's looking like very slim pickings for them to try and take the win from here. So now Rogers is going to have to keep an eye out in his rear view camera. The gap sitting at about 0.3 of a second as the BMW continues to jet along in the slipstream. I love seeing the speeds that they reach there down that front straight. Back to our leaders in GTD for the meantime. Alessandro Bico's done a really good job at holding on to this second place, keeping Alejandro Sanchez behind him, but also staying in touch with Johan Harth. We thought that the pace of the Apex Racing Team Mustang would allow them to get away a little bit, but that is certainly not the case. The draft here is just too strong.
Yeah, they're all playing the game, and Rubilar has tucked into that draft as well and is slowly closing to make it 4 as the final hour about to get underway. So really the pit stop window is about to open for the GTD machines as well. Rubilar, the one that's probably used the most of the VP Racing fuel at his disposal, closing this gap. Sanchez and Bico are going to have short pit stops, you would assume. Another question in our chat: can team use 2 separate cars? Do they have to be the same manufacturer? Well, some teams are able to get the same manufacturer. So we have 2 Coanda Corvettes. Some teams have had to split their efforts. EMM have got a Porsche and a Lamborghini. Sheza have a Corvette and a Lamborghini, or Corvette and a Porsche, excuse me. And so whatever works for the team, you make do with what you have. And officially now 1 hour left to go in the season in the Michelin 240. And Joey, once again, last year, the championship, it was coming all the way down to the wire in GTP, although with a very different sort of drama. Contact, staying out of trouble, that was the sort of drama that we were having. One of our contenders is running away at the front of the field right now, while the other 2 have a drawn-out ding-dong battle continuing down into turn number 3.
Absolutely. This 34 has yet to let go of the number 91. In my opinion, it really is a perfectly executed strategy from Team Redline. I know the BMW M Team Redline is out front, and the Team Redline 34 here is kind of the pawn today, if you will. They had a little bit of damage earlier on, so they kind of got designated that car, and they have just annoyed the heck out of this number 91 car. Cost them time earlier as Mitchell couldn't get around Eduardo Leo, and then once they got that damage fixed up, Luke McEwen has been a rocket ship, constantly harassing the mirror of Josh Rogers right now. And when you look at the big Bob Ross landscape, Team Redline nailing it.
That's a big landscape if we're going Bob Ross picture. It's a short championship as well. I don't know if we've got enough time to be able to do a full Bob Ross look through of the season, but maybe that's an idea for future campaigns. A bit of clean air, crucially for them as they head back out through that chicane. Back up towards the GTD leaders once again. I'll give a couple of shout-outs, by the way, in terms of some teams that have maybe not shown us their full potential, but rounding out the season at least with something decent. Maybe crucially, or most key to me, is Reese, the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team. We talked a lot at the start of the season about the battle between Scuderia Ferrari and the Aston Martin Esports team coming in from the world of Formula One. And they've been involved in a lot of contact, unfortunately, including last time out at VIR. But Rasmus Christensen, after starting all the way back in 32nd position, is up in 11th with a top 10 potentially to close out the season.
Yeah, it's been a great run through the field for this car. They're all on their own on track at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on whether or not the cars behind them can catch up. But yeah, you're right. It's been a great drive here in the final round. Just makes me wonder, were it not for the contact that they've suffered, where they might be by this point of the season. Well, looks like there's been another little getaway from Johan Haaf, and Nicolas Rubelat has joined the lead battle officially. Drago Racing 168 on the back of Coanda and Williams' place seat.
But we were wondering if Tristan Iglesias in the chasing Coanda 118 was going to be able to close. Answer to that right now is no. And I think that is partially, Joey, because while Rubelat has been able to shrink the gap, partially because of the pace that's being run at the front of the field, Iglesias is having to do maybe a little bit of fuel saving or whatever that case is, but he's not gaining lap on lap on lap. He's finding himself stuck 3 seconds back as we get ready to head into the final pit stop window.
And I think that, yes, he is closing it. However, to your point, how much fuel is he actually burning by closing that gap? And then he's going to have to stay stationary longer because he's probably going to have to come in a little bit sooner, fill it up even sooner. So, yes, they are closing the gap. It was 6.5 seconds. Now it's down to about 4, but it's just such a tough mountain to overcome when these top 3, top 4 cars literally haven't put a foot wrong all day long. I'm really curious about the overall fuel number. I think that these GT cars, at most, they've been doing 54 minutes on fuel. However, most of them were doing about 52 minutes on fuel. Look at how much time we've got left, 55 minutes. We are approaching that window, but you gotta get there in order to get to the end of the race.
And as we've discussed, the number of laps they will do determined by the GTPs. They are not in full control as they were in VIR about the amount of fuel they'll need to put in the car. They've got to do some calculations and make some guesses. Don't forget, there has never been a better time to give the gift of sim racing as we head into the holiday period now through January the 6th. iRacing.com/holiday-sale. 50% off all new memberships and even a slightly late Christmas present if you may have forgotten and want to give someone special in your life the joy of iRacing and potentially the chance to join us for the iRacing Daytona 24 in the middle of January. Tens of thousands of sim racers will join us here at the World Center of Racing. But as we close in on the last 50-odd minutes, let's jump into our 2 highlights and scroll back to the start as well, where Alex Noguet in control of the GTP field had a monster of a launch, monster of a crash for the Williams and Solpec cars that came to blows. The Le Mans chicane has been the site of many an issue, both on entry and on exit. And attrition has piled itself up. Lots of wrecked race cars, but what handling from Coanda, both the car spinning and their sister car to avoid chaos, rejoining onto the banking. Maybe the fight of the race, the fight of the season, has been the 34 and the 91. Porsche Coanda and Team Redline going back and forth, but race control have been busy. Penalties are plenty as contact continues to accumulate, and that into the International Horseshoe was big. That into the Le Mans chicane was even bigger. Speeds of 140 miles an hour as you flick it through the tight confines, and what a close moment for a championship contender. The 91 Porsche Coanda, Josh Rogers, seeing the chaos in front of him and able to stay out of trouble. It's Diogo Pinto, Chris Lullum in the BMW M Team red line number 33. Started all the way back on the edge of the top 10, but have fought their way to the front and into control of their championship destiny. If they win the race, they win the championship. It's as simple as that. Grinning goes, Cadillac has fought its way up 11 spots to second, while Porsche Coanda, we talked to Mitchell de Jong slightly earlier, he felt there was not much more they could do. It's seeming as though they will settle for third in the championship, even if they finish in front of the 34 red line car on track. That will slide into second in the GTP points. Williams Gaming Club machine that started, was meant to be on pole position, but was flagged for a track limit violation, has fought its way back up to fifth. And let's run our way down through the top 5 in GTD as well, where Coanda started first and third, but it's the Apex Racing team and the Williams Sim Racing Placey that now find themselves battling at the front of the point. Behind them, Coanda sit third and fourth. The Drago Racing Aston Martin has just dropped down to pit lane. 17 points, 3 teams, 52 minutes left to go. Those are the stakes in the Michelin 240. Our junior Kanky Party joined alongside by Reese Gardner, by Joey Atterbury. The sun not quite well and truly in the horizon, but Reese, we've got through the majority of the sunrise, and now final pit stops beckon for the season.
Indeed, you mentioned the Drago 168 coming into the pit lane, and Nicolas Rubelar did a fantastic job at the end of that stint to catch up to this top 3 on screen. Well, he's brought the car into the pits, and now Ricardo Rico has taken over that Aston Martin. Now it's up to the rest of the top 3 to potentially respond. The Williams Sim Racing Placey car was able to go an extra 2 laps on the first stint by virtue of just saving fuel in the train all the way through that first stint. I'm wondering if they're going to be able to repeat that feat for this final pit stop. Meanwhile, 11th and 12th in GTP, it's Tanguy Billon in the CrowdStrike racing car chasing David Adam, as it looks like Apex and Coanda have decided to come in from the front of GTD, and it seems my prediction may very well be correct. Williams Sim Racing Placey extending their stint again.
So will they do 1 lap, or have they eked out a 2nd lap, potentially sitting behind the Frenchman Johan Harf, who gets out of the car for the final time as an Apex Racing team driver. Tanguy Billon, the surviving CrowdStrike Racing Acura. Remember, big contact for Marcus Hamilton on the entry of the chicane slightly earlier in the race, left just one of the CrowdStrike Acuras left in the race. Meanwhile, both Coanda machines sit, and Xander Reed takes over from Alejandro Sanchez. Michael Johnny jumps in to replace Tristan Iglesias. This battle, though, is very close, and David Adam squeezed onto the inside there, forces Tanguy Billon the long way around, but all of this is costing them some time and drawing in the Apex Racing team Cadillac V-Series R. That's only 2 seconds down the road for the time being. And talking about pit windows, Joey, I mean, GTD, the window is open, but for GTPs, probably another 10 or so minutes before we even think about them trickling in.
Yeah, correct. They can last about, call it 44, 45 minutes on fuel. So you're right, about 5 to 10 minutes. And just going through everybody's lap count over here, everybody has plenty of fuel to make it to that window. So it really is up to each team. How early do they want to bring the car down and fill it up with fuel, put new tires on it, and get the driver back out there? I think we'll probably see a little bit of a mixed bag. Like I said, everybody should have plenty of fuel, though.
Here comes Biko down and into the lane. Remember that this lineup, rather, has already done its driver change, so they have the choice, if they want to switch back to Beckham Jasir potentially, but if Alessandro Biko is up to the challenge, leave him in and potentially try and short fill if possible. Luca Kita was only stationary for 40 seconds. Xander Reed, 40 seconds as well. And I tell you what, Michael Johnny has gained some track position in that 118 Coanda machine, taking over from Tristan Iglesias. He's in the draft of Ricardo Rico as the two try and close back up. That was very wide from Luca Kita, though, through the chicane. That will lose him some ground, allow Xander Reed to close up in the Corvette. And will it give a bit of breathing room to Alessandro Biko, because he rolls off and away a full 3 seconds shorter in the box. He will be on the pit limiter for a long while longer. have to wait until you release that limiter after the exit of turn number 1. Already Luca Kita, those tires up to temperature and pressure at this point, off the banking, sends it into that braking zone. You can see them slot in behind Reese, but it's a big gap at the front of the field.
Yeah, what a stop from the Lamborghini there. Fantastic job. And Alessandro Bico now enjoys a lead of about 3.8 seconds, as it looks like Xander Reed has been able to make the pass on Luca Kita for second. Meanwhile, have a look at this. The 181 is making its way forward, and that's going to be a couple extra championship points in hand for them. Let's keep an eye out for this.
As we keep an eye on Luca Kita continuing to put the pressure on, Johan Harth has jumped out of the car for the final time as a Apex Racing team driver. He's standing by with Reese.
Certainly is. Welcome, Johan. And, well, I think as far as ways to close out a career with a team, that is one of the best ways to do it. You must be happy with your performance there.
You're talking to me, I can't hear you right away.
All right, well, we don't quite seem to have Johan Harth for the moment, but we will endeavour to get him back in the booth, Arjuna, as we keep our eyes peeled on his teammate. Now trying to catch back up to Xander Reed in the slipstream, as I believe we might have Johan back. Do you have us, Johan?
Yeah, this time I got you.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations once again on managing to keep that car up in the top 3. Looking at your chances at the moment, you have just been repassed by the Coanda 181, but Luca Kita certainly has the skill to keep up with him, and you guys are still looking at a fantastic top 3 here.
Yeah, it's looking great. We're still very much in the fight. As long as we stay hooked up with them, after we can still keep them under pressure, and maybe mistake can happen. We've seen it with the 118 already on the outlap in the previous stint, so it can happen.
Yeah, the Mustang seems very strong around Daytona. You guys had some great pace in the first half of the race. Do you think with the sun now rising and the track temperature changing slightly as a result, you'll be able to keep that pace up?
It is strong, but in the wrong places. We are down a lot in a straight line, so obviously that's something you not want around Daytona. But yeah, we've built the car around the bus stop basically, so that's all she is good at today, and it's proved to be working quite well.
Well, all things considered, it certainly looks like you're able to keep the pace up, and I guess with the final pit stop complete now, the option is to stick in the slipstream of the Coanda car and try your best to make gains where you can. Do you have any other insight into what the final stint's going to bring?
I mean, first of all, we'll need to catch the Williams car first, so maybe try to work with the 181 for a little bit. Try to give them a helping hand down the straight with, well, not pump drafting, but aero pushing them to give them a bit of an edge down the straight. And yeah, once we get to the Williams car, maybe we can start fighting and try to fight our chances. Well,
ending your time with Apex Racing Team on a high, Johan. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Johan Harth there, Arjuna, and well, he's still very much focused on helping to get that car to the finish.
And I'm sure for him, some emotions to process at the end of the day as well, but first a race to finish. As we sit on board with Luke McEwen, the speed, the ferocity at which they enter into that chicane. It has 44 minutes left to go. Final pit stop for the GTPs. Likely only a handful of laps away. I would not be surprised if Diogo Pinto from the race lead is in the next 2 laps or so. And the rest of the field will continue to follow from there. Joey, I know we don't have drivers who are particularly fatigued. Usually, the sunrise greets the drivers who have stayed awake all night, need to try and grab some beauty sleep, starting to hallucinate maybe slightly behind the wheel of the car. And so this is a very different sort of sunrise than the traditional Rolex wake-up call on a Sunday morning.
No, in the real world, when the sun starts coming up and you finally get daylight at Daytona, it's kind of the closing stages of the race, right? There's still going to be a few hours remaining, but you've made it through the night, you've made it through the previous day, and you can finally almost theoretically see that checkered flag off in the horizon. And yeah, we're a little bit more in the sprint category right now. 43 minutes remaining. The pit stop window is open for the prototypes. I think if you pit right now, you should be able to make it easily to the end of the race. However, it's going to be up to these teams. It looks like the front can probably go another few laps. The rest of the pack can probably go another handful. So about to see some fireworks at the end of 42 minutes here.
And don't forget, you want to learn a little bit more about the series heading into a new year, a new championship year. iRacing.com/IMSA-esports. Learn more about the series and get ready for next year. Pit lane going to be busy, beamed with activity as Diogo Pinto lasers his way into the box. No driver change expected. Luke McEwen seems to be following suit, but Sean Campbell, he stays out on track in that grid and go number 7. Josh Rogers does so as well. They've got a couple more laps underneath their belt. And the sun well and truly now rising above the horizon and beginning to bake the track slightly. Reese, do you want to crack a window, see if it matches what we've got in sim?
Yeah, I already have, and actually I'm leaning over to open my curtain now, and yeah, the sky is starting to turn blue, and natural light is starting to flow in. So I am right there with the drivers at the moment. For context, I am located in Perth, Western Australia. It is currently 7 minutes past 5 in the morning for me.
It's a international series, drivers from all over the world, an international broadcast booth as well. I'm at Charlotte, America's home for racing. Joey, where are you based?
I'm Seattle, out here on the West Coast, so it is just past lunchtime for me.
And our great iRacing production and broadcast team, headquartered in around the Boston area, but with crew members joining us again from around the world. So glad you joined us here. 40 minutes left to go. 2 hours about to be complete in the final chapter of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship, the Michelin 240, as our champions get ready to be settled. Drive-through penalty coming through for the car that was in 4th position. Now, wasn't really going to be challenging for the championship, but mathematically it was a possibility. Throw that possibility out the door. And maybe more significantly, Joey, here, it's going to give Michael Johnny in the Coanda Esports 118 4th position, but he's now separated out from Xander Reed, the 181 looking very good in the championship picture.
Absolutely, the 181 is looking the best in terms of that championship, but yeah, props to that 118. Michael Janney's done a terrific job ever since he got in the car to continue to reel in the front runners, and now due to others' misfortune, they will inherit that 4th place as we see our GTP points on the screen here. You see Porsche Coanda, that number 91 car, because they have not come in for that final stop yet. They are in 2nd place overall and in the points lead. However, things will cycle through once they hit pit road, and we'll just have to keep an eye on how it all levels out.
So, cold tires also a factor, although I was just wondering in my mind, track temperature hasn't really moved anywhere, so there's no benefit to trying to stay out longer and maybe get a warmer track to head out onto potentially. That was something, Joey, going through my mind.
Well, I think really the bigger strategy play is the weight in the car, and here we see the number 91 hard on the brakes, get it down to that pit limiter speed. Don't beat yourself with any sort of penalties on pit road, so the 91 playing their strategy card.
Strategy, strategy, strategy. Even in a 2-hour, 40-minute race, you can have plenty of it. Long Beach with these GTPs, we saw the question of drive time be a big factor. No such worries here as Josh Rogers didn't even survive half a lap at Road Atlanta in the opening round of the season, but we've got to see a bit more of an inning from him. And he's not batted a century quite yet, but he's been putting together a solid knock, to say the very least. on board with the Maniti BMW. Once more ride with David Adam, who's got Tanguy Billon now in front of him as they resume the hostilities. But one thing that's quite apparent, Reese, is after 54 cars saw the green, only 40 are out there and still running. Traffic is a lot less busy at this point in the race.
Yeah, good point. I couldn't help but notice that. We've seen a lot less traffic contact and interclass run-ins. So I suppose in a 24-hour race, you usually see sunrise greet a wrecking yard of cars that haven't survived the night. Well, we started in the nighttime and have moved into the daylight, and we've almost seen the same thing happen, albeit on a smaller scale. Move in GTD there into the chicane in the meantime. But yeah, I think things are starting to calm down out here in terms of traffic, in terms of managing your pace through that traffic as well. At the start of the race, it was so difficult for the GTPs to get their eye in, and the GTDs had to really keep their eyes on stalks for those approaching prototypes, but not really the case anymore.
One of the big incidents that in fact, quite a few of the big incidents we've seen on the banking have been not even traffic related. They've been involving cars of the same class. I think back to the GTD mix-up, the GTP tangle between the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast and the Solpec Precision Racing Porsche 963s, which, by the way, that really does sum up the season for our defending champions. The Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast crew, who never really got their title defense going, and we know they'll be back next year and stronger. No question about that. Xander Reed has closed, the feisty young American, on the back of Alessandro Bico, and with a full 2.5 seconds now to Luca Keto, a further 5 seconds to Michael Johnny. Joey, if you're team manager for Coanda Esports right now, what are you telling to Xander Reed with the championship on the line?
Go, 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 and here he pops out to drivers right from the Lamborghini. Let's see how deep Xander Reed can take it on the brakes. You know what? Scratch that. He's already got the lead by the time he jumped on the binders. New leader, 181, the Coanda Esports Corvette.
Now, is this potentially because the almost 3 seconds short of fill time from Alessandro Bico? Is that meaning that he's having to now, unfortunately, as some would say, eat his broccoli, eat his greens?
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. We were really surprised at how much that Lamborghini jumped out front. They kind of did it on that first fuel stop, however, not quite as aggressive as their second fuel stop. And here's the thing. I don't think that they needed to go quite as aggressive. They've been going +1, +2 laps longer than any other GT car. So, yeah, like you said, kind of having to eat the vegetables now as gridandgo.com, the number 8 car, it's a drive-through penalty for an unsafe pit entry.
Yes, they were all told that you can't cut below the white line. They did so quite significantly. Lots of prize money about to be paid out in about 35 minutes' time. The $25,000 prize pool split across the two classes equally, and our champions to walk away with $5,000 between them. $2,500 to the team in second. And I say team, not drivers, because you divvy it up amongst the entire crew. Reese, it's not just the drivers that deliver here for a lot of these sim racing teams. Much like in the real world, there's unsung heroes that don't get the shine, the strategists, the engineers that make the wheels all turn.
Yeah, when you're sim racing by yourself, if you're just doing official races or in a hosted league, for example, most of the time you are your own race engineer, right? You're trying to get the setup together, you're testing the car, you're figuring out the strategy, you are setting up your pit stops. That's not the case with any of these teams. They are full-on professional outfits, and they have multiple people behind the scenes helping the drivers out with setting up pit stops, telling them where their competitors are, what they need to do to get their race done. Fiercely forward Teal, meanwhile, back in the pit lane, and Elliot Naren will make that car's final pit stop with just over half an hour to go.
It leaves them, the Apex Racing Team Cadillac, that will be into pit lane, I would think, the next time by. And also the Michelin wildcard, the Porsche Motorsport number 6, which we haven't talked much about since Marc Simond had a double pit stop in the opening sequence of the race, but Flint Schuring has taken over their pair of Porsche Juniors for 2026, joining us in the virtual world. And I want to give a big congratulations on the behalf of our entire IMSA Esports team as we watch that Porsche Motorsports entry in the fight with Maniti. This is for position 12th, 13th, and 14th up for grabs, but former Porsche Junior Lauren Heinrich, our 2023 IMSA Esports GTP champion, the 2024 IMSA GTD Pro champion in the real world, well, now a Porsche factory driver, will be racing as part of Porsche Penske Motorsports in the endurance rounds of the IMSA Michelin Endurance Cup. And Joey, for any young driver, to sign for a manufacturer is one thing, to sign for a manufacturer like Porsche is another.
Absolutely, as we see the other wild card entry. This is that TC Esports Lamborghini, and of course they've got that real world race team you had mentioned earlier over in Spain with the F3 and F4 program. But back to your point, you know, when I was still driving, and that was the ultimate goal, right, is get to sign with the manufacturer, and so few drivers get the opportunity to get up through the ranks and really have that opportunity, as we see a unfortunate drive-through penalty here for the Calcia team, the number 92. So you're right, every single year is a new opportunity for a new group of drivers, possibly dethrone the guys or girls that are already in the program. And yeah, wonderful opportunities are always on the horizon every single year.
And such a cool factor that as part of the Porsche Junior selection process, the young candidates were taken to the Porsche Esports Center, were put through their paces, and that was part of the evaluation, was if you could get to grips with the sim world and mix it up. And Flint Schuring, Marc Simond, very impressive pace in qualifying, opening stint, have not seen their full potential, I think it is fair to say. BMW M Team Redline still lead by 6.7 seconds from Grid and Go's number 7 Cadillac, as our championship leaders put themselves at the front of each respective class as well. And Reese, there's no more fitting way to win a championship than to go on and win the race as well, as we see that Porsche Motorsports car down to pit lane for the final time.
Indeed, Flint Schuring brings it in. Yeah, BMW M Team Redline leading and looking to claim the championship in style, and it looks like if things go as they expect, the same might be true for the Coanda 181 in GTD. Speaking of GTD, unfortunately the wildcard entry we highlighted just a few moments ago has reached 8 track limit strikes at turns 1 and 11, so unfortunately that's going to be another trip through pit lane for the 124.
Well, they did it once. They apparently enjoyed it so much they decided to do it again, and race control with the quick penalty very much reflecting real world track limit infringements as well. About to head into the final 30 minutes of the season, and I think for the most part we are cycled through all pit stops up and down through the field. And so now sprint to the checkered flag here in the Michelin 240 as a poor run through the Le Mans chicane for Maxime Briot allows David Adam to get right on the tail end and swoop around the outside, and already up into 10th, excuse me, but now feeding the draft back to the Frenchman, who closes back up as they head off to turn number 1. A pop to the high line and make their way gingerly around the Mahler Racing Team BMW. That is down in 23rd position and showing some endurance racing spirit, Joey, from going to fighting from the championship, tangled up in an incident no fault of their own, and now finishing out the day quietly without taking too much attention to themselves.
A tough pill to swallow for sure for that 110 BMW team. I think that they were one of the most consistent cars all season long, and a little bit quiet, right? A little bit under the radar. They weren't necessarily fighting for the race win. They were just always hanging out right there in 3rd, 4th, 5th place, and really unfortunate for sure what happened to them earlier today, as it looks like, unfortunately, the Porsche Motorsport car, that number 6, also falling victim to the track limits out here. Turn number 1, turn number 11. We are talking about, of course, the first turn off of the tri-oval, and then that Le Mans chicane where you have to be so neat and tidy, not just to avoid the curves, but those incident limits.
A new iRacing build coming on Tuesday, and I was noting while we've been live here with the Michelin 240, there have been some streamers with early access to that new build, and a lot of the track limits that you're seeing these drivers having to adhere to with the race control monitoring them, well, they are the very same track limits that you will have to drive to in the iRacing Daytona 24 in the early part of January when we get things underway. As we continue to track your GTD leaders, Andrew Reid pacing Alessandro Bico for the time being. Reese, full credit to Sean Campbell in that grid and go number 7 right now, because he is not letting Diogo Pinto sit comfortably. With 27 minutes to go, the race for the lead is not done.
Certainly not. And yeah, I'll sing Sean Campbell's praises any day of the week. He's an absolute weapon, and no matter what car he jumps in, he's super quick. And I mean, credit must also go to his teammate Jake Dennehan, who helped to get the car up there in the first place. Campbell's strength, I think, is consistency along with pace as well, and he's been able to keep that gap incredibly consistent. Gap currently sitting at about 6.5 seconds as things stand, but he's shadowing Diogo Pinto very nicely in terms of pace, running 0.2 of a second faster on the previous lap. While we're at it, another GTP that I want to draw your attention to is the Williams Gaming Club number 10. Moreno Sirica currently at the wheel. Remember, that's the car that would have started on pole for this race were it not for a qualifying violation. They went all the way to the back of the GTP pack, and they've made their way back up to 5th, and they are currently the fastest car in their class.
It's been a remarkable fight back from that early setback, and again, endurance racing spirit, it is what you love to see. And I've been waxing lyrical on occasion about the worldwide appeal of the iRacing special events. We've got 2 here at the World Center of Racing in January to look forward to. First, the iRacing Roar. Let's pack those LMP3 cars and TCR machines around the track for what is one of the few special events you can do by yourself. Then, a slightly different sort of event. 24 hours of racing, at least 2 drivers required, and around the world, teams will be formed, and I'm sure friendships tested in many different ways as the trials and tribulations of the Rolex 24 are experienced in the sim world. Consecutive weeks in January, all building up to the Rolex 24 itself. You can dive into the wonderful world of endurance racing here on iRacing. So, 25 minutes ago, Joey, we've been talking about Bico saving some fuel and minding his P's and Q's. I often like to ask the question, when is the go time? I don't feel like we're anywhere near that just yet. I feel like go time at Daytona is the last 5 minutes.
I feel so too, because you always have to worry about the draft, right? If you pass somebody, what is their draft going, or what is your draft going to do for them on the next straightaway? So yeah, it is ultimately timing it to the very, very last moment, simply to not give your competitor any sort of opportunity to kind of snag the lead back. However, these Corvettes have been on top of the game all day long in terms of the fastest GT cars out there. Yes, Alessandro Bico is doing a tremendous job to keep up with Xander Reid right now. However, it comes down to Lamborghini versus Corvette, and that Corvette has been fast today.
And also seemingly good on fuel too. I liked how Johan talked about the strengths of the cars, because that's what ultimately you've got to be aware of, where you're going to be able to spot your opportunities, and not every corner is a passing opportunity at the end of the day. Behind Lasse Baxil, Leo Gariboli waits in the wings. The TC Esports Lamborghini already a couple of laps down through incidents and penalties. Ride behind as well, as it's a nervy moment as Channel 199 gets slightly wrong-footed as they cut through the pairing. Just about works out though, as it very much is a high-speed and high-stakes game of chess sometimes, traffic management. Mixed martial arts sometimes gets described as high-level problem-solving with dire physical consequences. That is a consequence of running on the curb race. Gariboli goes for a ride.
Yeah, fortunately he avoids that tyre bundle on the exit of the Le Mans chicane that we saw one of our GTPs run headlong into before. You mentioned the new iRacing build coming out. One of the updates included in that build is making that tyre bundle movable. It's still going to absolutely wreck your car if you go into it at full speed, but it won't be a set-in-stone feature going forward after this championship concludes.
Yeah, was it a Solpet car that unfortunately
Yes.
came to a rapid and sudden end as the parts went flying? Yeah, that would likely not happen in the same exact situation. These GTD leaders have got, well, GTD traffic in front of them, which is going to be interesting. It's one thing having a class of cars at a totally different cadence that you're trying to race around, Joe, but when you're trying to pass someone who's not too far slower than you, but maybe has had a bit more misfortune. Might be the chance for Alessandro Bico, who's only within a quarter of a second here to find his way to the front.
You're always looking for any sort of advantage, any sort of opportunity. And you're right, maybe a slower GT car can throw off the rhythm of your competitors out there and possibly open the door. As it looks like the number 92 Calcia team once again getting another drive-through penalty for track limits this time. But back to my point about the Lamborghini versus Corvette battle out here, I think that the majority of the competitors, if not all of the competitors, understand what's on the line out here. They understand the championship is coming to an end. They understand the race is coming to an end. And when they see those championship contenders in that relative box, I don't think they're going to cause them too much trouble, especially with only 20 minutes remaining.
Well, as the serious part of the season comes to an end, it's maybe time for us to enjoy some more light-hearted forms of racing. And the iRacing Studios team have you covered. Try out the free iRacing Arcade demo available on Steam today. Wishlist on Steam and learn more at iRacingArcade.com. Releasing in early 2026 for PC on Steam. Another team picking up a track limit violation. This one is the Windward Esport by Sensi Haptics 148. Windward, one of the teams that we'll see competing in the Rolex 24 with two GTD entries, one in the GTD Pro class, two Mercedes AMG entries from them. This Windward Esports entry is the European side of Windward Racing, joining us in the IMSA Esports Global Championship, a truly international racing team. Windward, of course, are GTD champions in 2025 as well. So now that they've been joined by a third car in the line who is not for position, that Drago Racing Aston Martin is just going to sit and wait. Alessandro Bico has got 20 minutes to sit there and watch the Corvette. One of the tendencies I've noticed, Reese, is sometimes it looks as though the Corvette slides the rear end coming out of the International Horseshoe. Those are all the little things that drivers will be picking up on as they try and find that opportunity.
Yeah, the Corvette does tend to seemingly have a bit of a looser rear end in the infield, and I think part of that is a consequence of trimming out the rear wing for speed on the oval section. It's one of the many unique factors that the Daytona road course brings to the endurance scene. You know, you were talking about it before. It's a very different style of racing to the previous tracks we've been to on the schedule. And, you know, Sebring has long straights for sure. Road Atlanta has one long straight, but you don't see anywhere near the level of slipstream management that you see around here, and certainly a bit more downforce on the rear at other tracks.
I love that. I'm just chuckling a little bit because in our IMSA YouTube chat, I see Raphael from Racing Insights, who puts together some of the greatest statistics I have seen in motorsports broadcasting and makes the IMSA radio team's job a lot easier. He's got a fun fact for us here, guys. There have only ever been 2 IMSA races in December at Daytona. One was won overall by a Corvette, the other by a Porsche. Do you, Joey, have any idea when those races would have been?
No.
Does your history book go back that far?
No, not even close. You know, there used to be a couple Daytona races, but yeah, in recent years, no, I can't think of anything.
I think our producer is quite correctly pointing out that probably 2020 we may have had a race at Daytona in December. I have no idea when the other one would have been, but yeah, that's a wild statistic. Racing in Daytona in December is not that different, though, to racing in Daytona in January, I'd guess. Equally cold no matter which month you're in.
Correct. Yes. You know, I've been in Daytona for the Roar when it's been snowing on pit lane over there. So I feel December close enough to the next couple weeks next door in January.
Yeah, no snow, please. Please and thank you. Raphael says 1974 and 1985. So no 2020 race, unfortunately, as much as maybe we were hoping for it. The lead in GTP is down to 5.8 seconds, but maybe more worryingly for Sean Campbell-Rees, Josh Rogers within 1.1 seconds and on the hunt.
Yeah, 133.38 from Rogers on the previous lap. Yeah, that's a 133.9 for Campbell. That is just over 0.5 of a second that he took out on the previous lap. So we'll keep an eye on that battle to see what develops. This battle's continuing on for sure. Alessandro Bico has been latched on to the rear end of Xander Reed ever since the pit cycle was completed. And I've been having a think about the pit stop, the last pit stop that 167 had, and the fuel-saving discussion that we had after that. I think maybe there'll be a bit more to think about regarding that. But a replay here for the Porsche Motorsport number 6, clobbering the curb there at the exit of the chicane and getting into the wall. The safer barrier absorbing some of that impact, but unfortunately that is another blow to our GTP wildcard entry.
The Flint Schuring, who has impressed in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, including other Porsche series. Little spin for him. He won't be racing in IMSA next year. However, his, I believe, brother Morris is going to be part of the Manthey Racing lineup that will head stateside for a full Michelin Endurance Cup campaign, and that does include Morello joining for all 5 of those races. Watch the left sides as it launches into the air. It's not just the left sides, in fact, Joey. He manages to get the right rear off the ground as well. It's only the right front that stays on terra firma.
Extremely impressive crash there through that chicane. And just coming from a driver's perspective, you're trying to get on the throttle as soon as possible because it leads you out onto this hugely long straightaway. And the earlier you get on the gas, the more the car is going to want to push out drivers left, and you just have to manage that where you are in terms of the car placement versus where those curbs are, and some of the drivers still getting adjusted to those new curbs down there at the Le Mans chicane.
And as Robbie Foley said in our AMD Hot Lap in Countdown to Green presented by Michelin, those are floor-eating curves that in the real world for a 24-hour race, you simply wouldn't touch them, just given the risk of accruing damage.
Wouldn't want to touch them.
Yes, better way to phrase it. If you touch them, you touch them. You're not aiming to touch them regularly by any means. Now, I briefly alluded to this slightly earlier, but one thing that you cannot do at Daytona, you can sit in the grandstands and you can basically watch everything happening around the track. However, there's one part of the track you can't get up close and personal to, and that unfortunately is the Le Mans chicane. You can't get up close onto the outside to see the speed, the commitment that these drivers bring into that section of the track. Entry speeds close to 180 something miles an hour for your GTP cars as they lightly touch onto the brakes. And I mean, it's almost like a train track line through their race. As soon as you go slightly offline, you find yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, it was all well and good back when the curbs at that chicane were just flat patches of yellow painted concrete. I remember those days fondly. But yeah, with these new curbs especially, it just really narrows the line that you can take through the chicane. I mean, touching the initial curb is one thing, but you get over those anti-cut devices a little bit further inside the apex and you are done-ski.
I'm getting the sneaking suspicion that across the many hundreds of splits of iRacing Roars and iRacing Daytona 24s that we'll have next year, there will be a few people still caught out by those anti-cut curves. As Joey said, you're not aiming for them, but if you hit them, you deal with the consequences. 13 minutes left to go. Let's quickly just remind you of championship stakes as we stand right now. GTP, it's pretty simple. BMW M Team Redline stay out of trouble, hold on to the lead of the overall race. If they win the Michelin 240, they win the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. In GTD, it's a little simpler, but also more dramatic in some ways. Two cars split by under 7/10 of a second. Our championship leader is at the front of the field, but they don't have to win the race to win the series. They will have to make a decision. Do they fight tooth and nail with Alessandro Bico and take a third win this season on their way to the championship, or do they settle for second and just grab that championship? Joey, I go back to VIR where they found themselves on the wrong end of some contact and they've had to pull themselves back up and put themselves at the front of the field. You've got to feel for their sister car, though. It was all about Kawanda through the entire season.
It was all about Kawanda. I mean, these Corvettes have been on top of the game. Doesn't matter if it was Road Atlanta, if it was VIR, if it was Sebring, they have been the peak performance when it comes to this GTD class, and they are repeating that performance here at Daytona. The Williams Sim Racing Playseat car, driven by Alessandro Bico, a valiant effort right now, and we're going to see what the last 11.5 minutes can bring. I do feel that the Corvette, they've just had a stranglehold on the GT competition all year long. I don't think they're going to release that stranglehold at all. However, I think that Bico has other plans, and he is going to try to take away that checkered flag at the end of this.
Let's give credit to Veloce Thrustmaster. Like you said, Kawanda have had a stranglehold, but it was Veloce Thrustmaster that won at VIR, absorbed the pressure of the Apex Racing Team's Ford Mustang in front of the 34 Team Redline car. Their GT3 counterpart battles with the Porsche. Rodrigo Mies for the 112. Remember, the 101 are defending champions in GTD, but involved in contact in so many an occasion. And as the William Gaming Club machine darts at the inside, Mies opens the steering up, runs into the grass. Close call. Koita grabs ninth.
My goodness, that was a heart and mouth moment, and that's exactly what I fear every single time I see GTP traffic coming up in that kink. Like, there's no room to actually let them through, and Rodrigo Mies clearly turned into the corner, not realizing that the GTP was there, had to open the steering. That unsettled the car slightly, and he went for a bit of an adventure across the grass. He's recovered from it well, though, in the slipstream of Sam Kaitet here. The 101 Team Redline Aston Martin, they are the defending GTD champions of this series, and much like the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast GTP car, their title defense has not gone too well, but they're still looking at a top 10 here in the final race of the season. So we'll leave them to it as we check in with the Culture team. They had a great finish at the GTP only race at Long Beach, and unfortunately it would appear they have been pinged for bump drafting.
Explicitly against the rules, and they find themselves with a penalty. Tell you what, some of these GT3 cars probably would have wished that they could have been bump drafting on occasion, given how the race has splintered up through the field. Oh, Mies goes a bit deep as he tried to pressure Koita. Gets a great drive off the corner, though, as they head off towards the kink with the fiercely forward Acura going to slice through. Fortunately, not as close as it was on the previous lap with the Williams Gaming Club Porsche forcing its way by. 9 minutes left to go, though. It's now down to 5 seconds between Diogo Pinto and Sean Campbell. There is no risk being taken by BMW M Team Redline at the very front of the field. Campbell is pushing and holding off Josh Rogers for the time being. Still Xander Reed, Commander Esports from Alessandro Bico in GTD. 9 minutes left to go, Joey, before these two can celebrate as champions. You can only imagine the nerves, the stress they must be going through.
I think that Diogo looks plenty at home and comfortable behind the wheel right now, and his teammate was a little bit stressed out over some of the data he was looking at. And then here is our GT leaders, Xander Reed and Alex Sanchez. They are looking to try to close this one out as well. So the 181 car in front of the GT field. However, heavy pressure from that Lamborghini, that Williams sim racing playseat machine. So I don't think that the fight for GT is over. The GTP and the prototypes, like you said, about 5.5 seconds, but the lead in GT is on.
Here we go. Contact as they head towards the start-finish line. Door handle to door handle, no question of that, but the Dutchman, Sam Kuyt, continuing to frustrate. Sam Kuyt, one of the tallest sim racers, does seem to be something in the water in the Netherlands, but he's a full 6'7" or 8", if I remember correctly. Don't know quite how he fits himself into the cockpit of this virtual Aston Martin. That's the benefit of having sim rigs at home, which you can tailor for your own particular measurements. As Mies is just looking and eyeing up either side. No traffic behind them for a couple of moments other than that sole GTP car that's going to blast past as they head onto the banking once again. A great fight to close the season out, but let's head back up towards the front of the GTP pack, where a car that was a championship contender now finds itself fighting to hold on to 4th position, because Luke McEwen, damage repaired, but fending off the advance of Moreno Sarica. The fight back from the Williams Gaming Club race not quite done.
No, not quite. Still got one more position that they can realistically take here by the end. But a little bit of traffic here might help them out. One of the Drago Aston Martins, they're leaving them to take the inside through turn 1. Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's a fantastic recovery from their penalty right at the start of the race in this number 10. They have had consistently fast pace, and they have been the fastest car on track multiple times since the sun came up. It's been a bit of a solid trudge forward for these guys, but they are looking at a potential top 4, and even if they don't get past, recovering to a top 5 is nothing to sneeze at.
No, definitely not. And while this season hasn't gone all their own way, defending GTP champions in the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast entry, they have just come off a very successful Indy Next iRacing qualifying series, and will have a whole suite of drivers in the next Road Pro iRacing competition, which starts on, I believe it's January the 8th. The 2026 iRacing IndyCar Thrustmaster Pro Series gets underway. Time is ticking down. Where is Diogo Pinto on track? He has just crossed the line to begin yet another lap. And so my rough estimation has us, Joey, at 4 laps to go. And you know exactly where I was going with that joke.
Yeah, no, 4 laps of commentator math, let's put it that way. Some contact, heavy contact before we get to the brake zone. Certainly looks like Sarica's pushing the issue here, as it looks like Luke McEwen is going to hang on to what is 4th place in that Team Redline car, but Moreno doing everything that he could. You see him slipstream there, and then he popped out driver's right, trying to use a little bit of that side draft, and here's actually a swap back. Luke McEwen gives the position back.
That is when you recognize that race control might intervene, and let's just settle it between the two of us. Heads up there from Luke McEwen.
And I wonder if Luke is saying, okay, maybe I do have the pace to go ahead and fight back as this battle. Oh, no, it is not going to be continuing. The number 112, the fiercely forward car, is going to be getting a drive-through penalty with contact with that number 101. That is the car that he's chasing, so evidently these drivers just kind of get a little bit too familiar with the body panels.
Well, the note from race control is also that this was not the first warning provided to the 112, and so we always say when you repeatedly find yourself in the steward's room or the principal's office, doesn't matter if you're in school or on the racetrack, but punishments tend to be more severe the more you repeatedly find yourself in the crosshairs. Here comes the Williams Gaming Club machine out of NASCAR turn 4 with 3 laps left to go at the line as they continue to try and hold on here. GTD is still very close on a number of battles too. The lead's opened up to about a quarter of a second, so I think Xander Reed's got just enough pace. Luca Kita's holding on to the final step of the podium in a fight with Coanda Esports. There's also a 3-way fight for 6th. But for the meantime, GTP battles 8th up for grabs. Casey Kerwin's had a interesting stint. He's got Loic Rabier behind him, but most importantly, Reese, I think they're not far behind BMW M Team BS Plus competition as well. 7th is the real fight.
Indeed. Looks like a gap of about a second. You just see them at the bottom of the frame right there. So this could be a couple of moves, a bit of side-by-side that really decide if they can actually fight here. If they get into each other's hair too much, then this is going to jeopardize both of their runs here at getting that position off of Phil Dennis. They are looking at a potential P7. Maybe they just have to call a truce for a lap or two and work together to catch up.
Bruce in racing?
Never.
Often hard to come by, but sometimes, you know, the drivers can realize what they're really fighting for. Your leader has just cycled on to the 100th lap of the race. That means we will have completed 101 laps at the Daytona International Speedway in this Michelin 240 when the checkered flag flies. Are we going to see a move in towards the Le Mans chicane? Out of the Le Mans chicane. Let's go back up to the front of the GTD pack where Xander Reed 6/10 the gap back to Alessandro Bica, who just doesn't seem to have the speed in a straight line, Joey, heading out through NASCAR turn 4 to be close enough.
It's going to have to come from an excellent run through the bus stop. You guys were making the comment that the Corvette may be a little bit loose earlier in the race, so if it is a little bit of a loose condition, go up there and try to pressure him going into the bus stop. We've seen it be a trouble point for so many cars, not just GT cars, but for prototypes as well. And maybe if you can just introduce a little bit of a variable, have the Corvette get a poor run out of the chicane, it might just provide the opportunity for the Lamborghini to sit there in the slipstream and maybe steal the victory.
There was a half look there. There was a half look from Alessandro Bico as that Solpec Precision Porsche GTP made its way through. White flag will be out next time by. It will be a 3rd champion in as many years in this GTP class. And the Titans, Coanda, Williams, now joined by Team Redline if things will hold steady. White flag in hand for the BMW M Team Redline crew. Diogo Pinto and Chris Lullum. That much closer to the championship that eluded them in 2024. And with a gap back, that does see Grid and Go and Porsche Coanda potentially fighting on the final lap of the race here. The Michelin 240 is by no means done and dusted. Championship might not be going the way of Porsche Coanda. They could still grab 2nd away from Grid and Go on this final lap of the race. As our GTD leaders stretch their legs, Reese. Penultimate time out of the chicane. One final lap for Bico to find a way through.
Yeah, his lap times, I'm keeping a very close eye on. 3/10 faster than Xander Reed on the previous lap. And look at that, the 2nd place battle in GTP is now together. A bit of traffic ahead for Sean Campbell and Joshua Rogers from Australia by way of Europe. Now sees a chance to grab a runner-up spot in the final round of the season. We've got a lot to think about here on this final lap.
And so much to reflect on as well. A short blast through this 2025 season and it's over before we even know it. The fight for 2nd in GTP is still on. The fight for the lead in GTD not done either as they wind out of the International Horseshoe. One final trip around, but as they brawl out onto the banking once again for Sean Campbell and for Josh Rogers. Finally, a championship moment for BMW M Team Redline. So close, 2024, but 2025 is the year that they grab the IMSA Esports Global Championship. Josh Rogers pips Sean Campbell at the line by 83 thousandths of a second. Oh, no championship for them. One moment at Road Atlanta defined the season for them. But what could have happened if not for that drama? A season of domination for Coanda Esports. One final run out through the Le Mans chicane will separate them from a championship, but a race win could be up for grabs as well. Casey Kerwin gets down below of Loic Rabier as they sweep out through NASCAR Turn 3. Last lap, last ditch move, but in the draft, the Acura's not quite done. Pops back out as they now side draft on the run towards the line. Casey Kerwin by a nose is going to hold on, but here come our GTD champions. 3 race wins in 4 races. Coanda Esports dominate to win the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship race.
Fantastic stuff from Coanda. You know, they have been the best prepared, the fastest GTD team, from the very start of the season. And despite the little blip they had at VIR last round, there it is. Xander Reed and Alejandro Sanchez are champions, and in style as well, winning a super tight battle with the Williams Sim Racing Play Seat team. They've earned that. They can wear that proudly.
I'm so glad that we can now breathe for the first time. What a tense season showdown, the Michelin 240. Chris Lullum, Diogo Pinto, paired with Gustavo Ariel on occasion, are champions in 2025. In 3 years, no team has gone back-to-back, but 3 of the biggest teams have been able to crown themselves as the best. Redline join the likes of Williams Sim Racing and Coanda Esports as GTP champions of the series. And for Coanda Esports, back-to-back championships for Team Redline. And before that, the Apex Racing team, they join another marked list of big teams, champions in the GTD class. Let's talk about Michelin move of the race. And I mean, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 101 laps of action. I don't even know how a production team was able to whittle it down to just 1. But really, the fight of the race was between Eduardo Leo and Mitchell de Jong. And finally, Mitchell, the Californian native, was able to get alongside for a moment. But then, as Silly Lully spotted his opportunity, the team games played around the outside for the BMW M Team Redline 33. And Joey, once they took the lead from here, they never looked back.
It was excellent teamwork from both Team Redline cars, and you see Mitchell in that number 91 just get completely boxed out to the outside. Perfectly executed from both the 33 and the 34, but trust me, it was not over between the 91 and the 34. You see Mitchell and Eduardo going at it. Over-unders abundant. Turn number 6, the run out onto the banking. The Team Redline car gets down underneath, picks up the slipstream, and ultimately passes the 91.
It took a while as well for this sequence to resolve itself. They side draft themselves off the banking as they head down towards the chicane, but it was finally about to be locked in. Redline would sweep their way through. And let's drink in this winning moment. Championship burnouts. 3 wins in 4 races. It doesn't get much better than this as Alejandro Sanchez and Xander Reed drink in the success. Let's head into our AMD post-race report. Run down our provisional race results, not expecting anything to change the champions necessarily, but I've no doubt plenty more race control decisions still to be looked at. It's BMW M Team Redline, 6.5 odd seconds clear of Porsche Coanda as they grab the championship with a win in the Michelin 240. A photo finish between Coanda in the Porsche 91 and the Grid and Go car that fought its way forward through the field admirably, while Williams Gaming Club, drive of the day potentially to them in my mind, just in front of the second Team Redline car that did the job with damage when it needed to. Fiercely forward, the pole sitter drops to 6, showed some great speed early doors in front of the BMW M Team BS Plus competition. Channel 199 Sim Racing just in front of CrowdStrike by under half a tenth of a second, while Maniti Racing in the BMW round out the top 10. Apex Racing 11th, Grid and Go 12th, and then one lap, last car on the lead lap for Drago Racing 69. 1 lap down for Maniti's 78. The Porsche Motorsport Michelin wildcard the 2 laps down for the Culture team, 6 laps down for Solpec Virtual Mindset, and the used car lot features a handful of our GTP contenders. A run down through the 33 GTD cars that took the green. Regrettably, not all of them seeing the checkered flag. 49 thousandths the gap between Kawanda and Williamson Racing play seat as a battle all the way to the end unfolded. The 118 Kawanda Esports will be ruining their slight slip up on cold tyres that cost them a chance at the championship. Apex Racing 4th on the track and likely 3rd in points, while fiercely forward Drago Racing, Team PGZ, BS Plus Turner, Team Redline, and the Additus Racing by WSR Machines, your top 10. 11th for Fiercely Forward, 12th for Impulse Racing, while the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team grabbed their best finish of the season in 13th. Team PGZ 14th, Windward, Simufy, Door, Apex, Mag Performance, and Drago. Starting to get into those that did not find the luck of the day, EMM, TC, and the Marla Racing team, who will be very downtrodden with how things played out. Scuderia Ferrari, the first of our retirees, not all of our 33 seeing the end. Daytona is looking glorious right now, but let's head down and catch up with our winners. Reese Gardner standing by with our GTP race winners and champions for 2025.
We are joined now by Alejandro Sanchez and Xander Reed, and well, I had a talk to you guys at the start of round 1, and I figured this was going to be a preview for what was to come. Alejandro, you first. Honestly, I saw your celebration on the Zoom feed, and I mean, the donuts must have tasted especially sweet on that cooldown lap.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, golden end to such a great season. Round 3 didn't go away, but round 2 and 4 were pretty good from the whole team, really. Really happy for Kwanda and for everyone that led us to this point. The car was pretty much insane. We've worked really hard to get here, and yeah, especially proud of my very young teammate Xander Reed, who will for sure be probably, yeah, I mean, he's already an IMSA global champion, but yeah, in the short future is gonna be one of the all-time greats for sure.
Speaking of Xander, we'll bring you into the conversation. That was an incredibly tight battle with the Williams Lamborghini at the end. You guys obviously would have monitored their last pit stop and thought maybe there would be question marks over their fuel, but that final lap must have been incredibly tense. 0.5 of a second in it. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, it was a really good battle. Firstly, congrats to them. It's really good spot. Yeah, I was just trying to manage the gap the best I could. I knew they had to save a little bit of fuel, but not enough to make a huge difference. So definitely got a little tensed up on the last lap, trying to just make sure we kept P1.
Back to Alejandro. Honestly, this championship victory must number one come as a huge relief for you guys, but I think also a combination of factors, the car choice, the setup work that you guys have done, and you know, despite the little blip at Virginia International Raceway when you guys finished a bit down the order, otherwise a pretty much perfect season for you all. So yeah, big congratulations, and yeah, I guess how do you feel about that going forward into the next season potentially?
Very happy. We've come very close to winning the. Well, I have in other teams, but I've come very close to winning the championship. Already won it a couple of years back, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, bit of a heartbreak to lose out on the last round on a couple of different years actually. But yeah, over the moon. We had to do it for Dale and choose the Corvette. Obviously, very balanced car, and really happy with the way it drives, especially considering our driving style. So yeah, going into the championship, obviously we tested most of the cars and decided this was probably the best choice for us. And yeah, we were proven right with a 1-2 in the championship. Obviously, super happy. Brings a good boost of motivation going into the next year. And yeah, looking forward to what the future brings us.
Same to you, Xander. Obviously, it's going to be quite a break until the next IMSA Esports Global Championship season gets underway, but you're going to have quite a bit of time in the meantime to celebrate with your boys at Coanda and continue for more success in other championships as well on this high level.
Yeah, exactly. Can't thank Alex and can't thank Coanda enough for all the work they put in the offseason. It was a pretty spectacular season. But definitely want to carry this forward into other championships and IMSA next year.
Absolutely. Class performance from you guys. You well deserved that championship win. Congratulations from us all. And hopefully we'll see you in round 1 next season, ready to fight again.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was our GTD race winners and champions. Joey, I understand you've had a chance to catch up to our GTP champions.
Yeah, both drivers here, Diogo Pinto and Chris Lullum. Now, Chris, I'm going to start with you since you hopped in the car first, and some excellent strategy being played between the two Team Redline cars, but ultimately saw you gaining, 7 or 8 positions to get out front in the lead. Was it maybe just a little bit slow in qualifying, or was the focus all in the race?
Well, the quali lap was actually decent, but we were just 200ths away from being on the second row of the grid. It was insanely close qualifying. But I mean, yeah, for sure, the race pace was a little bit better. The strategy was really well executed, and some aggressive moves in the opening stint kind of won that race for us, I would say.
And then, Diogo, you kind of hopped in the car with a nice, healthy lead, but you had plenty of speed out there. You held about a 5 to 6 second gap over everybody else out there. Was it smooth sailing as much as we saw?
Yeah, it was. I mean, Chris did all the hard work for me. I just had to bring the car to the end. So I think in this moment it's important, of course, to not take it too easy, otherwise you might do a mistake. But in this race, it was all Chris. I just had to do the easy work and bring the car to the end.
Well, and Chris, back to you. You know, of course, now being crowned officially the champion here in the number 33 BMW M Team Redline. What does that mean for you?
It means everything in terms of what we've been trying to achieve in the sim world. I mean, this is our 3rd season really giving it everything in the IMSA Esports Championship. And to finally, it kind of feels like a bit of a relief that we finally got the title after the heartbreak we've had almost the last 2 years. No, I'm really happy for myself and everyone involved.
And, you know, I had mentioned just the speed, Diogo, that you had here today, but it really has been speed building throughout this entire season. We saw your competitors in that number 91 car be extremely fast at the beginning half of the season, but you guys just kept building, and here you are claiming the checkered flag and the championship. What did that momentum mean to you as a driver, and how did you carry that flag for the team?
Well, it's just not me. We have a whole group, so drivers, engineers. I think since all the way back in around May, June, when we started working on the car, to build for IMSA, and just all team effort. I just tried to do my best, of course, to execute the race. I think that's the deciding factor, of course, for this championship, and I think me and Chris did really the best we could with the car we had. We definitely struggled for pace with the BMW compared to the Porsche, but I think just executing the races flawlessly this year was the crucial factor. Besides, of course, Long Beach was a bit of a disaster, but I think overall was our best season so far.
Well, and just real fast, one last one for each of you. Chris, I'll let you go first. Now that you are champion, does it give you drive to try to come back and become back-to-back champions?
I think we can take a week to celebrate this one first, but no, I'll be back. That's for sure. I'll be back.
Diogo? Yeah, I mean, like Chris said, this is the 3rd time the charm for us. We came always in contention in the last round, and we finally made it. So I think it's nice to check this box, and then we'll see next year.
Well, congratulations to both of you and the entire Team Redline team. You guys put on a show all season long. Arjuna, that was both drivers of the number 33.
And it syncs up quite well when we can talk to our race winners and wrap up our championship interviews as well. Definitely didn't plan it that way, but it worked out quite nicely. What a short And what a sweet season that's flown on past so quickly. And some quick thoughts from us before we wrap up. Reese, first time we've had the pleasure of you joining us here in the IMSA Esports Global Championship booth. What are you taking away from this season?
What I'm taking away is I'd really love to return. So if you guys would have me, I'd love to come back. It's been a fantastic season, and it's been a real honor to be a part of the broadcast crew here on the iRacing Esports Network and the IMSA channels as well. And I think what I can really take away from this is Coanda in GTD. I know I've gone on about them a bit, but honestly, what an incredible put-together performance from that team. I don't think it was their championship was ever in doubt from the moment the checkered flag fell at round 1.
And Joey, a second year with you in the booth. What have you seen different to last year that you think has stood out to you?
I love the variables that we had in 2025. Not only do we have some standalone races with the GTPs over at Long Beach and the GTs at VIR, but we also had weather conditions. Remember those mixed weather races on round number 3? It was a really nice, call it diversion from what we've seen the first couple of years of this series. So I really like the growth of the series. And of course, we always talk about the championship contenders, but every single team in here, extremely impressive. I think I saw the average strength of field well over 9,000 iRating in every single one of these rounds.
And it is my distinct privilege to be able to thank you all for joining us across these 4 IMSA Esports Global Championship rounds. 2 of those added to with LMP3 support races as well. A great team behind the scenes make this possible, a collaboration between iRacing, VCO, and the team at IMSA. Don't forget, we fight our way into the start of 2026 with lots of on-track action in the iRacing special events. First, the iRacing Roar. Before, the week after that, the week before the Daytona 24, based on traditional schedules, we get the biggest sim race of the year, the 2026 iRacing Daytona 24. Tens of thousands from around the world will dive into the night hours and the thrill and glory of the Rolex 24. But all good things come to an end. No more true than the IMSA Esports Global Championship. A congratulations to BMW M Team Redline and to Coanda Esports, worthy champions who close out the year, winners of the Michelin 240. For the team behind the scenes, goodbye for now. We'll see you in 2026, 48 days away from the Rolex 24 in 2026.